Hey, Tony, how's it going?
Merry Christmas, Jordan. Early Christmas Eve.
Yes, Christmas Eve. That is correct. So before we get started, Garen, I see you out there, man. It's good to see you here on the stream. There's lots of people actually joining in and chatting, so that's awesome. But I wanted to call it Garen specifically. I used to work with Garen a while ago, and I was definitely, it was a name I was not expecting. So anyway, Tony, man, it is Christmas Eve. We're doing something special today. If you missed the message or the 27 messages we put out over the past week, I guess maybe we should lay the groundwork for what's going on, right? This is our holiday exchange, and we basically came up with this idea that, hey, we haven't got to spend a lot of time with our friends. It's Christmas. Not a lot of us are traveling to go see our families. And, we just wanted an opportunity to exchange holiday greetings with a bunch of people we cared about. And we figured the live stream was the right place to do it. and this is where we're at. So tonight, what our plan is we have really no plan. Our plan is to bring on as many people as we possibly can onto the stream to have conversations. And speaking of that component of things, we have someone special helping us out today. And that is Chris Cummings. Hey, Chris, how's it going, man?
Hey, doing all right. How are you?
All right. So just so everyone knows, Chris is running the back end for us. He is helping everybody get connected and helping everybody get in and staged and ready. So if you do want to jump on the stream, Chris is the man. But before we jump into that, Chris, man, how are you doing? Merry Christmas, happy holidays, all of that. Like, how you doing, man?
Well, happy holidays to you guys both. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on. It's good to be at this end of the year. I won't say that much. It's been, I don't know. I'm feeling a little warm inside right now, actually. And that's not the whiskey talking. That's just a glass of water. But no, I'm feeling real warm inside right now. I'm glad that we could do this. Glad to get a see and hang out with some familiar faces and hopefully some new faces. It's been quite the year for me. I started a new job.
You're now working with Nick Baraglio,
the one and only
Nick Baraglio at ESNet. That job doesn't sound intimidating at all. Working for a big research network that does very cool things on the government side and is probably light years ahead of anything I've ever worked on from a technology perspective. It's you were talking about optical networking earlier in the Slack today and how that's just kind of blowing your mind recently. And I think there's a cool opportunity to learn there, but it's just a cool opportunity. It's a great network to work on. It's something that's different. It's not your everyday thing.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's a different place. It's a different tier. It was kind of funny. We were doing a Christmas party today, kind of thing with just the NetEnt group, which is about 20 some people now. And so we're growing quick, but we did some presentations and everybody just kind of lightning talks about something that they found interesting. And, I was trying to think the night before. So last night I was just trying to think about what I could talk about. And I, kind of realized that all of my coworkers, have the same hobbies I have, but they're better at them, So I definitely feel like I've stepped into, maybe a 2001 monolith has shown up or something. Definitely for me.
It's cliche, but it's definitely true, right? If you're the smartest guy in the room, you're in the wrong room. It's good to have people around you who are smarter and better at things than you are, because that means you get an opportunity to grow in those things. I've been on both sides of the fence for that. I'm feeling that now. I work in a group with lots of really talented people. I've been on the other side of that where I was the most talented guy in the room, and that's not fun. That's not a great place to be. So it's great to hear. So Chris, thanks for helping out. Do appreciate that. I'm going to we're gonna break away and let you head into the back and start coordinating people. But yeah, we're we're gonna get this thing started. So Tony,
I'll head back to my cave.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris. So Tony, man, how about you? When you think about 2020, like what are maybe a couple of the things that you pull out of this year? It's obviously been an interesting year. I know it's a heavy question, right? Both good and bad, right?
You know what? Exactly. You know what it is? Gosh, I think so many of us, right? it's so easy for us to easily grab the negativity out of this year because it seems to be all around us all the time, and that's just an easy grab. But you know what's harder to do is finding that flower in the concrete, right? Finding the great parts of this year. And you know how I started my year out? Passing my CCIE on my 4th try. That's how I started my year out. I did that January 20th.
That was this year.
2020. That was this year.
That's crazy.
That was January 20th, 2020. So I'm not even a year. I'm still an infant, a CCIE infant.
Wow.
So that's how I started my year
like
off,
so
right? And I went immediately from riding that high. You guys know what I'm talking about, going through that journey, riding that high of completing your CCIE. And I immediately did my first Network Field Day 22. And that was just like, you know, carrying that wave of success and turning it into a tidal wave. And that was just another awesome community I found myself absolutely loving being a part of. And that was in February, right? The end of February. 2.5 weeks later, we're being told to stay home. That was March 13th in my area. I know because it was my wife's birthday. So yeah, we celebrated her birthday here on a Sunday, and Monday we all worked from home. And really, that's how it started. And I was never a stay-at-home and work kind of guy. That's not my thing. I like to go out, meet people. I love going out to lunch with people. I say this, like, if you want to get to know someone, you have to have a meal with them. There is so much good conversation, so much humanity that is exchanged over a meal. And I really missed that from working from home. And I found myself actually in quite a deep depression. But before I found myself in a deep depression, actually, you and I started working on the Network Collective podcast together. That actually started in March or April, right when the work from home orders hit.
Yeah.
So it was really sort of a bad time to start podcasting, you know, for me, because podcast listening kind of started to taper off at that point for people all around the world. And that's just the nature of what it was. And months into it, I found myself in a pretty deep depression, and I didn't know how I was going to succeed. But you know, I got some help. I talked to my wife. I talked to my family. I talked to a doctor. And I'm kind of like doing this to expose myself a little bit, but also as a message. It's a hard time of year for a lot of people. If you're feeling down, reach out to someone. Reach out to me. If you want to be absolutely more personal, go reach out to a doctor. They're there to help you. And hey, I got on a little bit of meds, and dude, my year has been on an upward swing since then. I feel like I thought there was nothing. I felt like I was helpless, but now I realized, like, wait a second, things are still good. Admit all this negativity that surrounds us all day, things are still good. There are still good things out there, and it helps me notice them and appreciate them. So, and out of that, towards the end of the year, we started this.
Yeah.
You know, and now we're like 4 or 5 weeks into it. This is about our 5th stream or so, and I'm absolutely loving it. I'm having a great time. So that's my year. Those are my bookends, right? I got my CCIE, and now I'm finishing strong on a live stream. I'm absolutely loving it, man. I really am.
That's good. So I
want to ask you how you're doing, but do we have a guest in here?
We do.
Can we coordinate that?
Yeah. Before we bring on the next guest, I think that I do want to bring up, like, if you want to come on, just shoot a message into the chat, say, hey, Chris, pay attention to me. He's going to be dropping stuff in there every once in a while too. We've actually got a Google Voice number we're going to have you reach out to get coordinated to get on the show. On top of that, the thing I didn't mention about the show is we want to give the opportunity for you not only to exchange holiday greetings, but to treat it kind of like ask us anything, because we might be asking you anything, not to scare you away. We'll be nice. But, you know, there's an opportunity. We don't talk a lot about like how the sausage is made, or we don't, you know, get an opportunity to talk a lot about us or even our personal stuff. I see my role on Network Collective as kind of being somebody who brings talent to the table and lets them speak. I try not to occupy all of Network Collective's time by talking about the things that I'm doing. And I know Tony sees it the same way. And so it'll be interesting if you have any questions, please engage us and ask those questions either in the chat if you don't want to come on the stream, but if you want to come on the stream, if you want to come on and give us a hard time, that's completely cool too. But coming up next is Katie Mcnamara. So Katie, how's it going?
Hey, I would have put Catherine, except for the fact that apparently my name doesn't fit. So Katie today.
Katie today, Catherine. I'm sorry that our banners are not long enough. I'll have to get on fixing that. So you've been busy. You've had a lot going on this year. You went
a hell of a year.
Yeah, quite a year. Both professionally and in other areas of your life. So why don't you tell us a bit? What have you been up to?
Oh no, I don't know what you're talking about. It's been a very boring year. No,
It's a very boring year.
All right, next guest.
Yeah, next guest. Let's start with the book. You finished a book this year.
Yeah, I finished the SICE original certification exam book for the ICE exam. That one was just actually we finished it a few months ago, but this is my first time writing a book, so it was like the whole editing process and everything was really, new to me. So went through that in the middle of a shutdown and all the craziness that was going on. I appeared on a documentary that's been a little bit crazy since then. All the news on that has nothing to do with professional stuff, but that was just sort of a passion project on the side of like awareness and stuff that I was doing. And so that's been a little weird. And off of that, I've been kind of busy trying to form a nonprofit off of that too. So there's been that. So finally, December, I'm getting back into labbing and studying and stuff. And that kind of feels good and familiar and, fun again to do, because I felt like for a few months there, I was just so busy with everything else.
No. Oh, yeah. I mean, I feel like a slacker when I have someone like you come on the show. It's like, finished a book. We did this whole big show that ended up being a big international thing. And I know that was not just this year. I know that was last year as well, your involvement in that. And I just like, it's like, yeah, we ran a podcast. Woohoo.
Definitely not like definitely not a measuring contest and not a club that you want to be in. For any of the people who are tuning in, so when I was a teenager, my parents sent me to this crazy boarding school, and I was there with Paris Hilton. So Paris Hilton and I was in a documentary for Paris Hilton, and it talked about this time in her life, and we started this big social media thing about it. If you search for hashtag breaking code silence, you'll see a lot of that. And since then, we've been trying to work on awareness and getting laws changed and stuff. So we were recently, me and my fellow co-founders were recently accepted to Rise Now for a grassroots organization that teaches us how to change laws. So that's kind of something I'm doing on the side. And then there's the technical stuff where the book writing. I did a new Pluralsight course, and honestly, I've got enough people running the Breaking Code Silence thing that I'm hoping I can study more. I can focus more on studying next year because, it's a little bit more in my comfort zone. The activism stuff is really important, but you got to have a balance or else it eats your whole life up, and it's very emotional.
No, I can understand that for sure. So go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, I just want to jump in. So you said you started studying. My question is, what are you studying?
So I decided to jump into SD-WAN stuff, and the DevNet stuff. I've been saying for months now, I really need to at least get the first DevNet exam out of the way. So Cisco, we have this wonderful thing at the end of the year where we kind of do a 2-week shutdown, and I'm going to kind of just drill into that during the 2 weeks, because it's usually a month of training to pass that first exam. And I think that I can kind of condense it into 2, maybe 3 weeks. So I'm going to really be digging into that. SD-WAN is one of those things where I know enough about it to be dangerous, but not enough to be technically dig in, configure. So I wanted to get better at that. And it's not really for job, specifically my job. It's just, I don't want to be just pigeonholed to one thing, security. I like to have a good networking understanding. I want to have broaden to having more scripting, DevNet programmability. So I'm kind of broadening my horizons a little because I think I don't think anybody should stay too much in their comfort zone. We all should kind of evolve as time goes on, not just, me. I think it's just how the industry tends to change over time. There's a reason why we're not studying ATM networks, for example, anymore.
Yeah. So,
I was going to say something funny when I got my CCNA. It was when actually they were changing the CCNA course, and and I had a CCNA instructor. I went to my community college and went through the NetAcad, the Network Academy classes, and in that old one was frame relay stuff. And I remember them saying, "You'll only need to know this for the test. You'll never see it in real life. This, that, and the other." And I was like, "Yeah, okay, all right, whatever." So yeah. So I got my CCNA, and I didn't get a Cisco. I didn't get a networking job right away. It was a year and a half later when I got my networking job. And the first large enterprise I had to do migrations, they had like 118 frame relay circuits.
Of course.
So I'm seeing the configs, and I'm like, what are these Del C things? I forget. I don't know. And so
go
it's
back to your notes.
Yes. So anytime someone says oh, well, we're not using that technology anymore, I'm like, yeah, right. No, it's definitely being used somewhere.
I could kind of relate. Before I got my first real network engineering job, I was doing an internship at a MSP, and they covered all these little veterinary clinics and stuff. And you know how they say you're never going to see RIP in the real world or Cat OS? Yeah, I both those things, that was their main, because I guess whoever set up their switches and the router just never upgraded it and never changed routing protocols, so it was all still old Cat OS stuff. I had to go Network Warrior and dig through how to configure stuff on Cat OS, and RIP out. Well, at least that part's easy. It was just kind of oh, okay, I get it at least, but this is kind of boring.
So, any aspirations to do another book after doing your first? I'm curious what your experience was like. Some people love doing them. Some people hate doing them.
I think I would have liked it more if my life wasn't so crazy at the time. So when we first started doing the book, or at least I was invited to it, it was a couple weeks before the Cisco Live US, and there was and then and we were going to start in a couple months, so. Okay, fine. Then we got started on it, and then I had to start focusing on Cisco Live Europe, which feels like a million years ago, but that was earlier this year. So I, usually with Cisco Live Europe, you're starting to build your deck and stuff and retool stuff around December. And so I was just kind of put it down for a few months. I figured I'd really beast mode it from March to May, and then COVID happened. And I know a lot of people, some people, their jobs got less crazy. For a lot of us, at least on the Cisco side, it got way more crazy, especially for security, because suddenly we had everyone going remote. And so they had to figure out how to make their apps remote, how to scale VPN. So I swear, those 2 months after COVID, from March to May were insane. So I don't know, I feel I probably would have had a more enjoyable experience if everything wasn't so crazy in the last year. So maybe I would be open to it more, but I don't think I caught the love of writing a book either. And I think that might have been just because of everything else going on. It felt like this extra stressor and something I needed to get done, faster than I probably felt comfortable with.
So in writing a book, time for it. Did you, I have no aspirations to write a book. So what was that like, having to actually need to fill in between the screenshots and the technical pieces and the stuff like that with actual content, with actual writing? Did you find yourself being very creative and narrative? Did you have to pull from scenarios and stuff? Or I kind of want to know what that creative process was like.
No, I think my problem was actually going into too much detail, and maybe that's good or bad. I mean, I don't think I focused too much on I made sure I hit the test topics, but I'll give an example, the TrustSec chapter. When I look at the last edition of the book, the TrustSec chapter was 30 pages, and I felt like it missed a lot. And I think when I was done with it, it was like kind of 100 pages because I was like, that's old. That's not really, it didn't really cover like, not, 90% of trust sex. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in. So I think that my problem was like brevity more than anything because I had too much content between studying for the CCIE and all the work I had done previously with ICE is that like I was just kind of like, I feel like this isn't realistic enough, or I feel like we need to add more here. So I just kind of threw in like a bunch more stuff, and there's no problem with it. But I think like without the pictures and stuff, I think it went to 1,000-page book. When you add the pictures in it, though, like it pretty much went to a 2,000-page book or something. So, I mean, it's for me, it's more like too much detail because I always think about like, no, this is useless. No, like, this isn't how they're going to use it. Let's go ahead and use like something more. Let's give more detail, like what I actually see people use in real life. So that part wasn't the hard part. Yeah. It was a part because like if I was buying a book like this, I wouldn't want to just give them like the bare minimum. Like, here are the test topics of what you'll get checked on. Here's how you'll actually use the technology.
So what's your takeaway from this year? You did a lot, you had a lot. Is there something that you think is the thing you learned, or the thing that was the most valuable thing, or the thing that you disliked the most? Like, what's the takeaway?
Man, I think if you asked me every quarter, it would have been different, but
probably true.
Yeah, I know. Like, I think the first quarter of the year was way less stressful. Second quarter was just kind of like overwhelmed. I think we were all kind of feeling like our energy level and our stress level were like too high. I think third quarter, I think we were starting to get a little numb to it. And I think now, going into next year, I don't expect things to be magically fixed, but I think that out of all the years, for all of us, self-care and being able to manage our stress, not just become numb to it, but actually manage it, is more important. And it's more maybe like a mental health thing, but I've been seeing a lot of people get really down, lose track of their doing things at least they were having fun doing when they were at home before. And a lot of IT people, like they may be home buddies, but it's a little different when we're forced to be home buddies, when we're not allowed to even have an outlet to go out, or like even friends that we can go next door. So I think that we've all kind of had to adjust. If for the ones that are like taking care of ourselves, I think we've had to adjust to different ways to vent, different ways to kind of adjust stress levels. And I'm saying this like because it's really like, again, it's not technical, but it's really important. I've had a couple friends who had to be hospitalized for mental health issues this year. People who I thought like previous last year were like solid people, and I think that out of everything that crazy that could have happened this year. The biggest takeaway I say is like self-care matters, and being able to like take a step back and take care of yourself when you really, really need to, not just letting yourself just become numb to it, but actually take care of yourself.
Yeah, I think it's very true. I think, Tony was speaking to that earlier. I think that's a common story. I think a lot of people have struggled through this year. And so I 100% agree. Well, Catherine, thanks so much for coming on and chatting with us. We'll let you go. You're welcome to hang out for as long as you want, but we've got a backlog of people who are jumping on now, so we're going to jump over. So Catherine, have a good night. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
You too.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
See ya.
Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. Glad you could be here. All right.
And you can compile a teleport.
Hey, Nick.
Hey, how's it going?
I caught you midstream there. So if you don't know, we have essentially I created a green room for this, and so now there's a bunch of people in the green room and everyone's chatting. So I'm gonna have to be careful about when we cut across, because I just got Nick mid-sentence.
Well, you know me, I never stop talking no matter what. So
well, that's true. Maybe you were just sitting chatting by yourself there. So Nick, man, what's going on? How you doing?
Pretty good. Just keeping pretty busy. Holidays started today for my family and everyone else that I work with, so I'm essentially off for quite a while.
That's good.
At this point.
Nice.
That'll be nice to unplug a little bit.
I don't have a ton of time off. I have just the next 2 days. Then I've got 2 days around the new year. I work 3 days next week, but I'm saving days for next year. My family and I, we've couple years ago, 2018, we took a pretty big road trip that got us going around pretty much 2/3 of the country. We were out for like a month on this road trip. It was awesome.
Nice.
This next year, we're talking about doing the second half of that, so long as things have calmed down with COVID and everything like that. So I'm conserving time and not getting as much time off around the holidays as I normally would, because I'm rolling over just as many days as I can, because it's looking like it's going to be just as long as the first one. So we
that's awesome.
Yeah, it really is. And some people are not about it. Like, we have 3 kids, and most people look at us like we're crazy when we say we go on a road trip for a month with 3 kids. But our kids are travelers, so we're very lucky that way, and they love it just as much as we do. And I travel a bit for work, and because I travel a bit for work, like the hotels and all that, that's all points. I just save them all up, and that's what we use them for. And and it's a great way to get out and do it.
Exactly the same.
Yeah.
So, in a normal year, I'm traveling quite a bit internationally even, and so the perks of, I mean, it stinks. It sounds great until you do it all the time, and then it kind of starts to wear out a little bit.
Yeah.
But the perks of being able to bank all that stuff is pretty nice.
Yeah, very, very true. My family appreciates it. I've tired of it as well. Like, it used to look so glamorous, right? Like, to go all over the country or all over the world, and then you realize that when you do it for work, it's just another hotel. It's just another meeting room with some other group of people, and it's very rare that you get extra time on the front end or back end to actually go do something. You might like get an hour or 2, but that's about it.
I usually make a point to take my skateboard anywhere I'm going, and if I can find an evening or an afternoon with a local skate park where I'll be the oldest one there. It's something.
Fair enough. So how was your year, man? You work with Chris Cummings now.
Man.
We made a big deal about the fact that he works with you now. So now we're gonna turn the tables and say, "Wow, man, what a great year!" Now you work with Chris Cummings.
A table spin on that. Yeah.
How's the job? How are things going?
Job's very good. Never a dull moment. Always something interesting going on. And my job has been sort of shifting a little bit towards like architecture and strategy. Whereas I started in the 90s as sort of a by chance network engineer. It's not what I went to school for. It was just something that I ended up doing to pay the bills until I graduated college and realized, like, I'm never going to make as much money doing what I went to college for, so I'm just going to keep doing this. And so operations has been a huge part of what I've done for the majority of my adult life. So, fixing broken stuff, being on call and things like that. And we created a new group that's primarily architecture and strategy and some prototyping and things like that several years ago. And I got put onto that, but I stayed in the on-call rotation. And the idea was, keep your mind in reality. And so that has, as we've expanded our engineering team, hiring people like Jay and Chris, it's become less desirable or less required, I guess, for me to be on the on-call. So I moved off of that right towards the beginning of COVID. So like April, I think, was my last on-call rotation. And that's been a much bigger shift than I expected it to be. Like, significantly more of a mind bender than I thought it would be.
Really?
So, yeah. Oh, yeah. So, because I always had a need to log into gear. I mean, I still do, and I have, but I spend most of the time in the lab, right? So, like, being decoupled from operations and engineering has sort of unveiled that, like, now I don't necessarily know what's going on day to day anymore because I don't do any of it. And so that's been, when you do that for 20 years and then you don't do it anymore, there's clearly something that you're going to miss. And I didn't expect that, but that's been the majority of my year, is just sort of making that shift and making that jump and adjusting to that while also being at home while the kids are in school, trying to work remotely. And I work remotely anyway, but it was, it's quite a bit of change.
Right. The dynamic changes for you as well, because you're used to a semi-quiet house, and your wife is a vet. Do I remember that correctly?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and she has an office and all that. So that's new for her and the kids at home. I get it. Any interesting plans for the holidays, or is it just at home?
As little as possible.
Little as possible.
I'll get the,
I mean, that's
I'll get the smoker out.
Answer, right? Yeah. Like the answer, right? It's probably not the best on live stream to say, "Hey, yeah, I'm going over to my family. We're getting together with 40 people," and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my family's all close enough that we can drive and see them, but we're just gonna stay home and just kind of do it here, like we did for Thanksgiving. I've got a smoker. I'll put a turkey breast on there, and
nice.
That when that's done, we'll have Christmas dinner here.
Yeah, I enjoy that. We've not done a turkey on the smoker or any type of bird on it. It's almost always like brisket or pork of some kind. So I should give.
I cannot make a brisket to save my life, dude.
No, it takes so much time.
Nope.
It's so ridiculous. But yeah, it's
the flavor's there,
it comes out,
but it's never as juicy.
It's an art. We'll have to get together and see if I can give you some tips. I've learned the hard way on that one a bit, but for sure.
Yeah, I've made some $50 and $60 mistakes with with the brisket thing. I can do a pretty mean pork shoulder, and I can do pretty much anything else, like poultry, fish, cheese, whatever.
Yeah, my most nervous, I had a prime rib, not just one, but I had the whole roast. And did that for Christmas a couple years ago. So not only was it like an expensive piece of meat, on top of that, it was like people were depending on me for dinner. So it was like, oh boy, like I better get this one right. Turned out great, but it was one of those things. So Nick, man, thanks for coming on. Tony, did you have something you wanted to ask? I feel like you were.
I wanted to jump in and say two things. One, Nick, first time caller, long time listener, big fan of yours. No,
really?
A fellow skateboarder here. No, nice. I've heard Nick on, I think it was on Network Collective or maybe Packet Pushers, but I think you were on with Tom and you guys were doing the great debate over Nat. And
I vaguely remember.
I usually bring that
up. But when I found you a part of the networking community, I was like, finally someone else who skateboards. So I wanted to ask you, because I skateboard as well, even though I don't look like it, I don't dress like it, it's not my style. So I'm the older of a bunch of younger engineers that I work with. And these guys snowboard, they wakeboard, they skateboard, they do all kinds of mountain biking and stuff. And this kid was like, he's going to get a skateboard. I said, I'll skate with you. I said, why don't we play a game of skate? And he's like, okay, so nice. We both went and bought, we waited, about a month. We were having like a company picnic. So we both bought new decks, new trucks, wheels and everything. I went and got a pair of Etnies, like the big fat tongue Etnies, you know what I'm talking about? The kind that I was riding back in the day. And anyhow, we played a game of skate and I was still ripping it up, but
nice.
Dude, I was sore for like 18 days afterwards, like straight up. Like I was sore in between my ribs. Like there was like stuff I didn't know could get sore was getting pulled and tugged on. And that was a pain, an absolute pain. But it was cool. So I always see you. Occasionally you'll post like a picture of you on the skateboard somewhere out there. And I'm like, that there's not a lot of network people out there riding boards. So if you ever come over to Washington, D.C., let me know.
I have skated in DC before. The thing about that, and I'll wrap it up with this, is that I attribute pretty much every bit of my success, either directly or indirectly, to the skateboarding mentality because skateboarding is not about anything other than getting up after you fall down. For every trick that you see made, there's 100 times where you hurt yourself or fell or whatever. And that's every bit of perseverance is built around that. So I will leave you with that holiday pseudo wisdom.
There you go. Some philosophy from Mcnamara.
Very good.
Yeah, man. I hope you have a great holiday season with your family. I hope it is as quiet as you hope it is. I hope that your meat comes out exactly as you expect it to.
Me too, man.
And just as a
You
side
guys
note,
do.
man, you've been a big contributor here at Network Collective. So just thanks. Like seriously, it's about people, right? And so it's great being able to do this alongside of you. Every opportunity we've had to get together to do this has been both beneficial for me as a person, as a networker. So just wanted to say thanks, man. I appreciate you. And
Absolutely. And I appreciate you keeping doing this. You know, it's useful and it's important to share what you know with the community, especially for people who are just coming up and need to learn things and, you know, need a community to foster that. And this is a good one.
All right.
I appreciate you having me on.
All right, man. Well, we'll talk to you soon. Okay. All right.
Cool. Thanks. Bye.
Yeah.
So Tony, I had no idea you were a skateboarder. Had no clue. I just learned something right here on the stream in real time. You don't project it at all.
Yeah, I don't. There's no need to.
No, it's fine.
But
it's just awesome learning something new.
If there are any listen to me. If there's any 25-year-olds out there that think they want to go, well, I guess they can go. You know, I'll be pretty bad. But no, I surprised myself. It was 2019. I think it was 2019 when we did this little skate competition, and I surprised myself what I can still do after probably 10 years of not touching a board. It had probably been a solid 10 years before my feet touched a skateboard, and I can still kick flip. I can still spin a 360 flip. I can still ollie over a road cone.
All that muscle memory.
You know, it clicks, you know, and you get into it and you get into a groove and it's fun. And you know what Nick said is absolutely true. I would piggyback on that and say, like, you know, whatever you can accomplish in skateboarding is just your potential at the moment. You can always get better. And for anyone who's not good or hasn't, and I should say not good, right? But for someone who can't do a bunch of tricks and land a bunch of things and doesn't have a lot of confidence, they just haven't reached their entire potential. Not yet. I mean, he's absolutely, I sat around and I used to ollie things like in my basement. I had like an unfinished basement with a concrete floor, you know, and I used to sit there and I'd probably ollie 1,000 times in a night, practicing. The same thing you do with networking in labs. So I think that's a really awesome thing that Nick said.
All right. So we got our next guest who's ready for us here. So I'm going to bring him on. And that is Matt Ouellette. Man, how you doing? It's been a while since we've chatted. Hey.
Jordan, Tony,
Matt,
how you guys doing?
Good, man. How are you
going
doing?
on?
Well, man, thank you.
Oh, I'm doing.
Same old,
I'm
trying to enjoy this Merry Christmas.
Yeah, I made the trek up to my dad's house in northern Michigan. Well, northern lower Michigan. I think we've had this talk before, Jordan.
Yeah.
It's a thing, but yeah, no, I'm doing
awesome. So Matt is my, Tony had just found, some camaraderie around skateboarding with Nick Baraglio, and Matt. And Matt and I have some camaraderie around drumming. So being drummers and now owning nearly identical drum sets, which is really funny. And not like a super common, everybody goes out and buys this particular drum set. So it's quite cool. So yeah. Man, how was your year? It seemed like you've been pretty busy. From people who were online. There was a season there where you were really frustrated too. Like it just seemed like you were working like crazy. Is that season done? Are you in a better spot?
You've worked for a VAR before. You're familiar with it. There's a lot of ebb and flow. And that ebb and flow also plays into counterintuitive fiscal years. Mm-hmm. Some people's fiscal year is January, some is the middle of the summer, and they all tend to spend the money at the end of it, and then projects kick in at the beginning. And it's okay. So ebb and flow. I had a few super packed months, and then a couple, quiet weeks here and there, and is what it is.
It is what it is. Yeah. So. So, beyond work, you were drumming a lot. Like you were out there posting a lot of stuff and doing covers. You still keeping that up?
Sure.
You having fun with that?
Yeah, I actually, thanks for putting me on the spot. I have about 4 or 5 things I need to record it still. But yeah, I mean, I'm still jamming out with a friend of mine when we can, both being, kind of cognizant of what's going on in the world right now. And, his wife has some health issues, so we're playing it safe. But, I got in contact with a buddy of mine, played in bands with him up here in my hometown. He went to school to actually become a conductor, or band director, I should say. And he's put together a few things that I have to record for him. And he just picked me because we used to play in bands together. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm busy with that. Absolutely have things to do there. More than I probably need right now, but hey, it's fun. Beat the drums. Why not? Something to do.
It's a great stress relief. I had this grand idea when COVID first hit that I'd get together my friends who were all musicians and we would do like remote collaboration. So we would, I have my friends who are guitarists, my friends who are bass players with the same illusion that I think everyone had when COVID hit, that we were going to have a bunch of like available free time that just never materialized for anybody in the group. So I created a Slack. We got everybody together and then it just absolutely dissolved, went absolutely nowhere as everyone was more busy than they were pre-COVID.
Right.
Everyone was still working just as much. Just like, hey, wait a minute. We can't be rock stars. Just not enough time. Just can't happen.
And we were all used to doing it in person with each other. The whole trying to, hey, here's a guitar track, email it to me. And then I try and record to it and email it back. It's like, okay, this is a new process for me. I mean, I recorded on tape to tape once. Like, what's this digital email stuff?
Nice. So
Matt, I want to jump in. I want to keep this. I want to keep this rolling. This music talk rolling, and ask you, what are some of your favorite things? I'm not going to ask you the absolute favorite. What are some of your favorite songs to play on the drums?
Okay, so that's a loaded question.
That is a hard question.
Really?
Tony. Oh, very much.
Actually,
so.
I thought the hard one was going to be like, tell me the one your favorite song, and there can only be one. I thought that would be
that's even harder.
I thought giving you some space was making it easier.
No, because there is certain fun.
Okay. How about this? Let me back it up then.
I'm going to explain why this.
What's the last song you played on the drums?
Oh, there you go. That one should be easy.
Angel Wings by Social Distortion.
Okay, cool.
So to go back to your Tony. Yeah, the reason why that question is so hard is because there's different ways to enjoy playing the drums. Sometimes drums is a cathartic experience, in which case hitting something hard and hitting it fast and just getting the energy out, that's a cool experience. I'll tell you, for me, there's nothing more enjoyable than hitting an absolutely perfect groove. So when you're locked in with a bass player and everything is just right, it doesn't have to be fast. It doesn't have to be a big energy song. It's all just about timing.
They call that being in the pocket.
That's right. And so when you hit that, and it's not just you, it can't just be you. It's got to be you and somebody else, and it's got to be in real time. This is where this whole recording remotely doesn't have the same feel. When you do that live, man, it is otherworldly. And like, I will take that every day, but like, I'll still take the day where I'm, sitting there banging away on drums and going crazy. So there's so many different, most enjoyable things, like to quantify it. It's impossible. I'll let you answer now.
Yeah. No. I mean, you basically hit it spot on. I mean, there's a lot of fun in playing some weird Meshuggah stuff, playing just, straight, just blast beat metal. But there's also this really fun thing of just sitting in like a country music groove and just playing and just hitting it solid, or playing all that funky jazz. Like, it really depends on a mood. And that's kind of what Jordan's saying. Like, it's some days you're just like, I just want to play some super fast punk rock. And then other days you're like, I don't know, some 90s, some 90s music sounds fun, and you just sit there and hit the beat. That's it. Just do da, do da, do da. I mean, AC/DC is key. Like, AC/DC is really fun and really annoying to play because it's super hard because he's a human metronome, but it's really fun because it's just a groove, and you just go with it. So
it's not.
Okay.
It's not
I mean, Jordan hit it spot on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's. What are you feeling that day? And to Jordan's point, dude, hitting drums is such a great stress relief.
It is. It absolutely.
I mean, you can write any name you want to on the top of that snare drum and just beat it.
It's so
whatever
true.
technology made you mad, whichever license plate in front of you that stopped at a yellow light and made you hit your like you just hit it.
So you said you're up with your family for Christmas. You're just hanging out up there. You got some time off.
Yep. So I took the week off. I came up here Monday, actually. Pops is sleeping on the couch.
Nice.
Probably going to get a glare, but that's okay.
Not sleeping.
Yeah, I mean, no, eyes are closed. I'm watching TV. No, I mean, few left. It's basically my dad, my sister, and my nephew. So small get together and just, nice. 5 hours away from home. Nice little break and fairly low risk. So
yeah, good deal. Well, I hope you have a great holiday season. I definitely missed connecting with you at Cisco Live this year. It's our typical place of getting together. And of course, I think a lot of people are feeling that, missing those connections with friends and other people in the industry. I'm really glad you got to come here tonight and come say hi, though. I was really excited to see you.
Yeah, for sure.
So
good to see both of you again. I mean,
yeah, man. So have a great holiday season.
Man.
Yeah. And we will we'll talk to you soon. All right.
All right.
Yep.
See you guys.
All right.
Merry Christmas.
See ya.
See ya.
Bye.
You have to go ask like the hardest question possible.
I thought it was a softball. I mean, all right, here's something you don't know about me too. I used to be in a touring band, and I played bass now for 25 years. So
I'm learning all kinds of new things about you. I didn't know you were a musician either.
So if somebody asked me,
we should talk sometime.
Somebody asked me like, what are your, what are some of the favorite things you like to play to? I'd be like, probably the entire Rage Against the Machine collection, discography from start to finish.
Good choices.
Probably most of Metallica. Sure. And then I would probably get into a lot of like very weird jazz that no one would appreciate except for like really technical bass players. That's it. Music. And not that I am, but that I appreciate it.
I think drums are different.
See how easy
than
that
bass,
question
though.
was? See how easy that was?
Drums are different though, because drums are such a physical experience. So a bass, like a groove.
I've sat behind a drum set and I just don't connect with those things. Yeah. Like they're just instruments, like playing an electronic keyboard. Like you press that and it makes a sound. You press that and it makes a sound. Like it's very rudimentary.
We're gonna have some problems here very soon if you keep going down that track.
Let's grab our next guest. Let's grab our next guest.
Let's do that. So it looks like we're guest one here. So hey. So Dwan, right? Yeah, Dwan, how's it going, man?
What's up, Jordan? How you doing?
Hey, man. So you had some trouble getting connected. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, you have like a straight up studio, man. You've upgraded, man. This is nice.
It looks good.
Thank you. Yeah, I did. I got a little spot in my basement. I work on one end and my kids have school on the other end. It's kind of like a tag team thing going on.
Nice. Very nice.
That's cool. So I wanted to say, what we wanted to do was kind of, exchange holiday greetings and everything. And I hope you and your family have a very Merry Christmas, coming up soon. I know it was 2 years ago, you were on my side of the globe, and, that was 2 years ago. You know that?
I know.
And we did a little Lab Everyday meetup. Dwan and myself, Erica Cooper, right? Yeah. And about 30 or 40 other people showed up.
Yeah, we did an excellent presentation on DMVPN. You and your wife.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Great time. Yeah, it was, man. It was a great time. We got to do that again. So
I wanted to bring you in because we also were trying to make a point about recognizing all the good things that happened this year. Times have been tough for a lot of people, but there's been a lot of great things that happen. And one of the things that always sticks out in my mind when someone says like, what are some good things that happened? Well, Dwan started working for Cisco. So why don't we start with that?
It's a blessing. This year has been very challenging. a lot of like bad has happened, but despite the bad, I always try to keep a positive mindset, and some positive things did happen. I joined Cisco somewhere that I didn't really set out to work, but I've always been a fan of Cisco, and it kind of just happened. It's like, why not? Let's try it. Let's do something different. Let's see if I could help the community and do something, that's in a different lane. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that was kind of like one of my things that I wanted to ask you was pursuing that job and that position. Was that something that you aspired to do? Some people set that as a goal for themselves, to go work for Cisco, one of the biggest names in the networking industry, and they want to go be part of that. Was that something that you wanted to do, or this was something that you said, you know what, let's give this a try and this sounds good for now?
You know what? I never really set out to work for Cisco. But I was always a fan of DevNet specifically. And I said, if I ever worked for Cisco, I would want to work on the DevNet team. And so a position came available, and I said, you know what, that looks interesting. And I love network automation. Let me see how this will work out. And so, Mandy posted the position. I applied for the position, asked a lot of questions in the interview, see how it would line up, and it worked out.
Very cool. So I know before you did that, you and I would sometimes message back and forth because I know you were starting to get your CCIE studies in line.
Right.
Where is that in your plan? Is that still in your plan? Is that on the roadmap?
Yeah, that's still on the roadmap, actually. The thing that I'm facing now is that I see where the industry is going as far as network automation really being I would say, new way to do things. And not really new way, but a more focused way of automating our networks, because we've always had EEM scripts and other ways to implement some type of automation. But now with network automation, we have things like NSO, ACI, APIs that are driving us to get more automation driven in the network, right? And so my question for myself is, do I go enterprise CCIE, or do I wait for the DevNet CCIE and do that? Because that's going to put you more in focus with being a, let's say, SRE. Because on the automation side, you really have to know not just how to automate the networks, but you also have to know databases. You also have to know containers and the real intricacies of orchestration. So that's where I'm kind of drawing the line to see how this is going to work. So until then, I'm going to keep learning both sides and see how everything pans out once that DevNet CCIE goes live.
Give you 2 cents of unsolicited advice here. Take it for exactly what it's worth, exactly 2 cents. But I think we're a long way away from the fundamentals being irrelevant. And I think that those core skills are still one of those things that I think set the foundation. And that doesn't mean that the DevNet path for CCIE is the wrong path. I don't think it's an either or proposition, though. I think the certification might be an either or proposition. I think you need to have those skills as the CCIE route switch skills for some time if you want to be a top tier network engineer, because it's taking those and automating them, right? Because we're not there from the orchestration point yet to where they're fully abstracted and we don't have to think about them. And so I think so long as that remains true, it's going to be a both proposition. So the question is, how much time do you want to invest? And I'm the first one to say, I don't want 2 CCIEs. I've got one. I've lived that pain, and I have no inkling whatsoever to go after a second. Those that do are both amazing and unbelievably crazy. Like, I'm impressed, and I don't understand you at all at the same time. But it's one of those things that, there's just so much to know and learn. You can't be a master of it all, but I still think those routing switching fundamentals. I'm starting to get into a lot of cloud networking, and guess what keeps coming back to the surface? The routing switching fundamentals, right? And so that's my two cents of unsolicited advice. So you have quite the popular production of your own with Lab Every Day and some of the things that you do out there as well. So why don't you share where people can find you if they're not familiar with you? Because we have not had you on Network Collective yet, and that's something we need to fix, by the way.
That's right. This is a Network Collective first.
This is a Network Collective first. We need to have you on. But yeah, so why don't you share a bit about what you're doing outside of the stuff you're doing with Cisco so people are aware?
First off, I'm honored, that you all asked me to come on. So I do thank you for this opportunity. We'll make it happen. Just let me know when I'm here.
Sounds good.
Tony, when he reached out to me today, I'm like, yo, anything Tony ever needs, I'm here. That's my guy.
I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Now, when it comes to Lab Every Day, it's a community. Whether you're on LinkedIn, whether you're on Twitter, whether you're on Instagram, the hashtag Lab Every Day will connect you with awesome people like Tony and many others in the industry that love to share information, love to share knowledge. And it's been a blessing to me to meet so many amazing people and just to do what I love, and that's to help. You know what I mean? So from my YouTube channel, it just kind of grew to, I don't know, people from all over the world, that have the mindset of putting in the work, of labbing every day, of not just on the physical hardware, routers and switches labbing, but also learning network automation, also, doing whatever they need to improve their soft skills, because the lab is about the journey. You, Jordan, getting your CCIE, that really took a lot of work. Tony, we all watched his CCIE journey. It really took a lot of work. So the Lab Every Day is all about that grind to achieving not just your goal once you reach it, but beyond that to sustain your career.
Very, very cool.
Yeah, and I'll say that hashtag Lab Every Day, it was something that popped up in my purview back when I was starting to put myself out there in my journey. And if I didn't find people like Dewan to help encourage me and help me along the way, I wouldn't be where I am today. I mean, absolutely. So I mean, that's what this episode is all about. This episode is for the community and about recognizing each and every person out there that has helped one another, and about looking back on this year and saying, like, we're all in this together. There's positivity in every single one of our lives. Let's recognize that and let's have some fun. So, Dewan, I can't thank you enough for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
Juan, I hope you have a fantastic holiday season. And we're putting together our production calendar for next year. So you'll be hearing from us pretty soon, because I'm like I said, we definitely need to fix this oversight not having you on. So I'm glad you're here today. I'm glad that Tony's your man, and I'm going to be leaning on that pretty heavy, man.
Hey, Jordan, your setup and the way your production is laid out is top notch. I salute you for.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Putting this together, man. It's high quality.
All right, appreciate that. All right, Dwan, you have a great holiday, and we will talk to you soon. Okay.
You too. Take care.
Christmas.
All right.
Take care. See ya.
All right.
Bye.
All right. So I'm excited
Jordan,
about
I can't believe. I can't
ahead.
believe we've had so many guests so far. This has been absolutely great. We really didn't know when we put this idea out here what was going to happen, who was going to get involved.
It could have been an absolute.
Who was going to agree? Who was going to agree to come on to do live streams and give blessings for the year, and we got a full green room, so that's really awesome.
So I'm excited about this next guest, and it's both a good friend, but also someone who helped start Network Collective, and so I'm really quite excited. Yvonne, welcome back. It's been too long.
Hey guys.
Hey.
Oh
how are you?
Gosh, that voice is so familiar.
Oh man. Yvonne, how are you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah?
I'm good. Learning all kinds of new stuff.
Yeah, you've got a new gig.
Doing the Google thing. Yeah.
Google Cloud.
Little list. Yes.
Yeah, you jumped in both feet. Like, let's not just learn cloud. Let's go make the cloud. Let's go make it happen. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like 3 months in, and I've wrapped up the network engineer cert, and just finished up the Google Certified Architect cert. So it's great to have an opportunity to kind of learn on the clock for a little while, which has been fun. So yeah,
that's a rare occurrence, right? To actually have to learn on the clock. Only when you start a new job. And then all the time.
So it's been great. No, it's been great. So super excited.
Family doing better. I saw that your husband had unfortunately caught COVID. He seemed like he did all right though. Everything was okay.
Yeah, well, we both had it.
Oh, you did? I didn't know you got it too, Yvonne.
I tested negative, but my symptoms followed his for like 2 days later, and then even though I was better, I had like a headache for a month. Yeah, and then I'm finally like better. Like we were sick in October, and then by Thanksgiving, I was kind of finally completely over it. But yeah. So
everyone's feeling better.
No, we did fine. Like no fever. We didn't lose our sense of smell. Like most people do. So
it's weird. Like some people, like it really is just the flu, and then for some people, it's way dramatically worse.
Well, unfortunately, the week that we had it, the kids had been like out of school and on break, and so my husband was exposed to kind of a strange circumstance, and so I don't think we did any spreading. So it was good. It worked out okay.
Good deal. You have any good any holiday plans? Is it just quiet at home?
So my mother-in-law and sister-in-law are here. And at our house, we do it a little different. So Christmas Day is always crazy. And so Santa comes tonight here.
Oh.
Yeah. We do. Yes. So Christmas Eve morning. Yes, because Santa has so much to do. We kind of cut him a break. He kind of comes here early. We get the pre-show. And so my college kids are both home. My little kids are here. So
awesome.
Yeah.
That's so good. So
no complaints.
So out of a crazy year, if you had to pick one takeaway from this year, what's the thing you point to and say, this is what I learned? This is the thing I was most frustrated with. I know it's a very hard question. It was a crazy year. Catherine McNamara was on earlier, and she's like, if you would ask me at any one point in time in the year and then ask me again at another point in time of the year, my answers would have been completely different because so much has happened. But
so on a positive note,
okay,
the good thing that I learned and that I've been trying to practice is to take joy and find joy in little things.
Sure.
Celebrate the little things, whether it's, sitting on the couch with my kids and enjoying them being cute, or I've read a lot. And so I think, one of the things I've started doing, there's lots of green stuff in my house. If you see behind me is my tree. I ordered this tree, and it's actually a real tree. So we will plant it when we're done. Nice.
You ordered that tree. Did it come via some shipping services? UPS, right?
Land's End. You can get live trees from Land's End. I put the lights on it. They were a couple bucks at Walmart. They're battery powered, and then. And this is, you're seeing my roots, right? Like when I grew up, everybody was like, oh, I got this at the Dollar General for 50 cents, so that's, so my little poinsettias were 88 cents at Lowe's. And so, and like down the hall, I've got some ferns that I missed every day. And I've got some pothos growing. And so, I've started to enjoy, like, green things make me happy. And so any little thing that makes me happy, we do it. So those have been kind of the things I've learned on the positive. And I think I appreciate home more than I ever have. Like I never fixed up things. I just didn't decorate. So we've kind of redone our bedroom. We've ordered a shed for the backyard, which I'm going to turn into a she shed office.
I saw some inklings about that.
On
that
Twitter or something. Yeah.
Pretty phenomenal. Yeah.
There will be obnoxious pictures and sharing and microblogging about this project.
Yeah, I want to see it all. Absolutely.
Yeah. So the shed is supposed to show up the first or second week of January. So unfinished on the inside.
Right.
So I've got a Pinterest board that's going crazy.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
I've got an app. Yeah, where I've designed and because I have no like spatial reasoning. I cannot in my head figure out what something will look like in physical space. And so I have an app that helps me with that. So my husband, bless his heart, has been wonderful.
Is that the good one or the other one?
Yeah, which bless your heart is that?
Yeah, which connotation?
Like, good husband or the bad husband? I don't understand.
No. There's only one husband, and he's a great guy. I've met him. I was talking about the bless his heart because I understand that could go either way. I'm assuming that was the good one.
Yes, bless his heart. He is so incredibly patient and willing to help. That's what that was.
There you go.
Did I also see that what is the official name of this shed? Are you calling it a she shed or you're giving it its own name?
I've not done that yet, but that could be interesting.
You need to name it. But did I also see that this she shed that you're getting? How are you getting internet to it? Because I seem to remember some discussion about you guys were going to do maybe a Wi-Fi point-to-point, or it's getting its own internet connection or something.
We have to go.
So let's talk about that for a minute.
Okay. So Nick Baralio chimed in and suggested that we bury fiber, which I guess is possible. And then somebody else suggested that we do. I think it was probably our friend down in Mississippi. Why is his name not Kevin Myers? Right?
Kevin Myers. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Suggested that we do fixed wireless that would like melt your face.
Probably with right?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah,
some sort of 5G COVID emitting stuff.
Oh, gotcha.
But honestly, I think I'm probably going to get another internet connection for it. That way it's just separate from the house. It's easy. But I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to have any infrastructure here I want to talk to. So, frankly, I haven't thought much about that piece.
There's a lot between now and then.
Yeah, first we've got to lay flooring, and I've got to figure out whether I want to do drywall or shiplap on the walls. That's the stage we're in.
Or actually have the structure present. That's also kind of important before we start making decisions about it.
So I want to share with anyone and everyone who is watching this now and may see this in the future if we have a release of this, that if you're not following Yvonne on Twitter, you're missing out on some amazing human advice. Yvonne, you drop some nuggets of wisdom that are just so pure. I don't know where you get them from. In fact, I've actually, when I start my DevOps, my DevNet associate journey, my coding project is I'm going to make an Yvonne bot, and it's going to start catching your tweets and then just spreading the wisdom and joy occasionally throughout the year. Just retweet them. So, I always find myself reading your tweets and going that was incredibly insightful. Why can't I do that? Where do you get the inspiration from?
So here's the thing. I'm mostly preaching to myself and fighting back the mean lady that lives in my head. My inside voice is not the nicest person. And so I have to keep her in check. And so a lot of that is mostly just me preaching to myself. I need to hear this.
I would say that it might be part of that, but I would say having worked closely with you for some time, that it's more sharing the lessons of things that you've fought previously. You've learned this lesson, you've been down this road. Maybe you're still fighting it, but it certainly doesn't appear that way from the outside most of the time. Most of the time, it's just some nugget of wisdom. It's why did I not think about the world that way? I would have been much nicer or much better if I had thought about the world that way rather than reacting stupidly like I did. No, I agree with that wholeheartedly, Tony. So Yvonne, we do have to move on. Unfortunately, I understand you're also under some time constraints, but it was awesome catching up. I hope you have a great holiday season.
Thank you for coming on.
Yeah,
thanks for reaching out and inviting me, guys. I appreciate it. And Merry Christmas, and stay in touch on Twitter.
Merry Christmas.
And take care.
Absolutely. All right, Yvonne, we'll talk to you later.
Absolutely.
Yep.
See ya. Bye.
All right. So it just keeps going on with the green room here. So let's you nailed it there. So having worked with Yvonne, I learned a lot working side by side with her with Network Collective. Just a lot.
I can only imagine. And I'm very serious and sincere when I say that she drops some excellent nuggets of wisdom through Twitter for whatever purpose she's doing it. If it's to keep her evil voice silent or more quiet, then that's great, because she's doing a great job. And I'm absolutely, I can't believe the wisdom that comes out of her. And I'm like, why can't I think of this? Like, this is good stuff. This is good stuff. If only there was like a book that had this kind of stuff.
Yeah, you just said Yvonne needs to write a book. That's what I heard. All right. So next up, I think this is our time to be heckled. I'm not sure. So Laz, hey man.
Hey, good evening, gentlemen. How you doing?
All right.
Hey, Laz, I'm doing well. Yourself?
He wanted to look like us.
I did. I worked very hard to make this happen. I wanted to be like the cool people and not have my weird background behind me.
It is definitely speaking to
you got the
my
same background as we have.
Yeah, my consistency. Yeah, my need for things to be the same. Yeah. So how you been, Laz?
But pretty good. How about you guys? Surviving the Christmas holidays?
Doing good. Yeah, we will. That's the plan.
It's low key here. It's all good. So what have you been up to? You definitely been on most of the streams so far. Like you're taking time to come hang out with us, which is awesome. I appreciate that.
I love bothering you. I love creating pain for you, or at least chuckles, whichever one it is.
That was you who said that, right? Like it's your goal to make me laugh on the stream.
I would like to see it.
Almost always successful. There's always something that's hilarious.
I'm glad. Little levity. That's my function.
That distracts me. But the whole point of the live stream is the idea that it's unscripted and that we can do that and that we can have these real-time interactions. So that's what I'm hoping for, that it's a little less formal. I mean, the podcast is great and we try not to make it too stiff, right? But the podcast, like there's an outline and we try to follow a general flow to things, and not to say that we want this just to kind of go anywhere, although this show is kind of going just wherever the heck it wants to.
You invited all sorts of random people. What'd you expect?
What did you expect? It's gone surprisingly smoothly for all of the random people that we've invited on, but it still has been a bit random.
It's true.
So Laz, what is something you've been working on this year that has either been interesting or different because of all the craziness this year? Or what's been on your plate?
So amusingly enough, I'm a network engineer by trade, and for some reason this year I've spent more time working on non-networking stuff than I have on networking stuff. This has been an interesting year. It started out pretty good. I've been doing a lot of automation, and so I came into my current role as a kind of a network engineer that could do automation, and I kind of figured out I could help out other teams who had not done that. And so I spent a lot of time basically writing out automation for things like NetApps or VMs or building DNS stuff. It's been really interesting. And actually I feel like it's rounded me out a bit, because I spent the last 10 years doing networking, mostly enterprise networking, right? And a lot of that some of the really good stuff like SD-WAN, SDN has come out, and that's really changed some of that. But a lot of it's also still sort of the same flavor. So this was really interesting for me just to sort of branch out. And at the same time, you get to see sort of what automation brings to the table as a whole, right? We network guys, we tend to sit in our layer 3 bubble, layer 1, 2, and 3. That's where we sit, and we don't tend to see what the rest of the groups out there are doing, or we tend to just be enablers for other groups. So this was really interesting, and we've done a lot of good stuff with just trying to build, instead of just focusing on hey, here's what we do for the network, trying to go a little bit more beyond the stack and saying hey, let's do some automation for the network components, and let's take that up and attach that to components that may not belong to who I am, right? It belongs to other teams, and help them out. So now we can do it helps other teams do almost soup to nuts. We can take, hey, I've got a new environment coming up, and now I'm the one that does the hooks for, build a server, build a network, attach a VLAN to it, put it into a switch, build some firewall objects based on that. That's been really interesting. It's been really, really, I'm very thankful for it, because coming into the COVID thing, things were you didn't know where you were sitting, especially in enterprise, and it just exploded.
Yeah, I mean, I know that with COVID, I just speaking for myself, but I know a lot of us are in that same boat. Super grateful for the fact that I've had steady work and that I've had a good job and all those things in place. And the same thing, like I've done nothing but grow. And if you had taken away just the logistics components of my work, where I'm doing it, whether or not I'm traveling, you would have had no idea that this year had some major thing going on. Yeah. I know that's not true for everybody. And the reason why I'm acknowledging that is because I know that's not true for everybody. But I do know a lot of people where that their companies have been solid through this and they've been able to, to make it through. I'm not going to say unscathed because some companies had to cut stuff back or whatever. But at the end of the day, the large majority of the people that I know in this industry have had solid work. And which is phenomenal considering the way that some of the other industries have been hit with COVID, just naturally by the nature of what they do. But we work in a really great industry to weather stuff like this. And so I feel very blessed to be, in that position where I've excelled this year and it's given me the opportunity to help others who maybe have not. So that's great, but it's also just great from a security standpoint. So it's just one of those things that as I look through the past year, like it's one of the things I'm most grateful for is I think about this season we take between Thanksgiving and Christmas and whatever holidays, people celebrate. We take a look back at the year. Yeah, there's a lot of garbage and a lot of crap, but there's just so much to be thankful for as well.
Yeah, I mean, I like to tell people, I've spoken to people who in this industry who have been who were kind of afraid at that time, and I think you've heard mentioned it on the channel before. Like we in this industry are very lucky. We are, the amount of people that can do what we do, the skill set that we have, is so limited. So we make up 0.001% of the population. So when it comes to what we do, we're very lucky in that regard that as long as somebody needs to get information from their company to a customer, they will need someone like us. And I'm very thankful that I have fallen into this career path. I'm very lucky, and it's like I think this is I think especially for people who are just starting out, right? Like no. If you like doing this is an amazing job. This is an amazing career to have, because you will sit with people that the only thing that's bad about it is you tend to, I'm Jordan, making the Network Collective community, that's been awesome because for people like us, especially in enterprise, who we work in companies where there's like one engineer, maybe two, in networking, we tend to be a little lonely in that regard. Like you don't have a lot of people to bounce ideas off of. And it's been great to have a solid community that you can speak to, and they kind of know what's going on. They know what's happening.
You could not have said a nicer, not the compliment there. As much as I do appreciate it. Thank you. But you just said the exact reason why I wanted the community is, you said it almost word for word, is that I feel like so many engineers are on islands. It's rare to find a company with 25 network engineers or however many ESNet said that they had now, right? That were exclusively networking, right? That's uncommon. That's not a common experience. It hasn't been for me. And working at a VAR, both in midsize and now large enterprise, it's not common in the customers I go into either. There aren't communities of people. There are community of technical people, but not communities of networkers. And so not only am I grateful for your compliment, I'm grateful for the way that you just said that, because it makes me feel good because that's why we started it. I do appreciate it. So, that's the reason why it exists.
That's absolutely true. And I would say that was a great way to say it, but it makes you feel like, if at your work, if you're a team of 1 or 2 or 3 network engineers, being part of the Network Collective community makes it feel like you're on a team of 100 network engineers, right? And they're all over the globe. There's been many times where I'll wake up in the morning and check the Network Collective Slack and hear about an outage before it's reported on the news and before anyone at my work has seen anything, so I'm a step ahead of it because someone else in the world has seen it and is dealing with it already. And sometimes it's so awesome. It really is.
SolarWinds has caused it. I'm thinking more with places like Steam.
Oh yeah, we do have the inside connection.
Yeah. So what's on the horizon for you, Laz? Like, what does this upcoming year look like? What do you have going on?
I think this year I'm gonna try to tackle the DevNet thing. Like I like it. I'm up for a recert. So unlike a lot of you guys who are CCIEs, I'm the dumb guy in the room, or at least the non-certified guy in the room.
That's the non-certified guy in the room. Yeah.
Non-certified guy in the room. I think this year is going to be. I'm probably try to go DevNet, because then that'll also recert my CCMP, and it'll also give me something like I said. I've been doing a lot more automation now, a lot more scripting, and at the same time, sort of branching out into like non-technical stuff, like just more business, trying to figure out how to bring IT and business together a little more. So, but the DevNet piece really works well because it lets you, a lot of the stuff you'll learn from doing that, you can leverage in multiple ways. You can, that gives you a lot of ability to, hey, not only can you now be network engineer, not only can you even just build your own network automation, forget that. You can now, if you feel like, oh, I'm missing this functionality, like, crap, I need to do this weird thing that my company wants to do, or personally I want to do, you will now be able to build something yourself that does it. Or you'll now understand better how to be a part of like a public developer community. Like this year I made my first public pull request in a repo, right? And learning that kind of stuff in the etiquette and how to build your own environment and how to build it in a way that it can be testable. I think those are going to be really important things that certification can give you. Funny enough, the thing that I pulled a pull request on had nothing to do with networking. It was for VMware's Ansible module. So it's really, it's interesting what you run into.
I've been doing the same with Terraform and a bunch of other stuff with cloud connectivity. And yeah, so I'm building a whole repo, which is like my first time for my own legitimate repo that I'm working in. Like I've got a bunch of stuff where I just kind of throw code. This is the first time I'm working with other people. And yeah. And
do you find that now that like, you've gotten a little programming, a little automation stuff under your belt, once people find out, you kind of get tagged for all sorts of other stuff that you probably wouldn't have gotten tagged for beforehand?
So this was my doing. In fairness, I was looking for some places where I could make an impact, and I spoke up and said, "Hey, yeah, I can help. Do something," because I've done quite a bit of scripting and programming just throughout the years for little things that I needed, and this seemed like a good way to stretch those skills. But also, the team that was doing the project didn't have anybody on hand who had those natively. They were going to have to learn them. And so it was like, hey, I'll step in and do it. So a bit of that, I'll be interested to see once this project is complete, how often I get pulled into other things. That will be the real telltale sign is like, hey, you built that. Can you come build this for me? Like that type of stuff. But in fairness, like, I work at WWT, we got a pretty deep bench. And so when it comes to, people who can code, on the scale from people who know nothing to people who know a lot, I'm somewhere way over towards the people who know nothing.
Yeah.
Right. Even though I'm able to get this done, there's a lot more talented programmers than me. So I don't have a feeling I'll be the one that they're calling on.
Don't knock yourself, because you got that go-getter attitude. So you can.
No, I do all right. I get the job done. It's just not my area of focus. So I recognize, they're the people who focus on and do it all the time. They're the experts. And I am just dipping my toe into that territory and doing the best that I can. So Laz, I hope you have a great holiday season. It's always enjoyable. You're super active in the Slack, so I feel like I'm talking to you all the time. So it feels weird to say, we'll probably talk like 3 more times before you actually get to Christmas. But like,
this is a kind of way of you saying this guy doesn't shut up. God,
no, that's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is you are a valued, active contributor at Network Collective, and so I'm grateful for that.
I'm always glad
for everybody. Yeah. So who participates there, but it's great to have those people who are always in and part of that conversation, and you're definitely part of that. So thanks. And I hope you and your family have a great holiday season, and looking forward to, more time, building a relationship in the Slack and continue to do stuff like this.
Yeah. Same to you. Hope you guys have a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year. If we don't do something like this
between now and a couple of days, from now,
just do it. It's a marathon.
All right, Laz.
Thank you guys. See you. Have a good one. Merry Christmas. See ya.
So Tony, I think you know who's next. So I'm going to let you do that introduction.
Yeah, very cool. So if I'm reading the chart properly, I think we got Knox Hutchison up next.
See ya.
Would someone bring in Mr. Data Knox, please? Oh, there he is.
There he
I'm looking the other way. There he is.
What's up?
Mr. Knox Hutchison. The guy
How
who
we
can't
doing?
be slowed down or stopped for anything. Holy cow, good to see you.
Hey, what's up? I am honored to be here. I got to tell you.
Yeah, it's awesome. Let's see. You are pushing out code and certification stuff and videos and stuff 10 times a day, it seems like. I don't know. I think like you and maybe IPv0 and Nick Russo are having a contest to see who can take over networking Twitter.
We text each other first thing in the morning and we say like, look, I'm wearing this. These are the color pants I'm wearing, and I'm going to beat you in these 3 ways. And it's very competitive.
Nice.
Even though John is on my team, we're on CBT Nuggets together. But we still, so John and I talk, probably like 10 or 15 times a day. He's in Scotland and I'm in Louisiana. Mm-hmm. But we're always trying to somehow, or like in a very friendly way, but somehow one up each other. That's just, it's a very healthy competitive relationship.
You have to put like little watermarks that make fun of him, like in your thumbnails, so that like only he can see them. I don't know what that means.
And like we do that too. We find ways where we call each other out on things. So there was a time, I think a couple weeks ago, where John was like, I strictly use Vim, I'll never use Nano. And then I was watching his Nuggets and he used Nano. And I was like, excuse me, sir, like you have lied. So we go back and forth.
So this year is 2020 has been rough for everyone. We've said it a bunch of times so far, but there's been a ton of things to be grateful for this year. And one of them is like you sharing your journey and doing CBT Nuggets and like all this awesome stuff. So when you reflect back on 2020, what are some of the positive takeaways that came out of this year?
It's funny you say that because somebody actually said something to me recently. Like they tallied up the things for me this year that happened, all the positive things, and I'd like forgotten about it because, I was so busy like dwelling on like the stress that came with 2020.
Yeah,
it's very easy to fall into that trap where you think about the bad stuff and not think about the good stuff.
Thinking about the negative things, it's like it's the easy job. It's like we can all like quickly rattle off things that are wrong with today, with this week, with this month, with this year. But for some reason, why can't we rattle off all the positive things that quickly? Like we got to sit and think about.
We don't have to consider those things, man. It's human nature. So you have to consider the things that are negative and challenging because you got to do something about them. The stuff that's positive, that's back there. In fact, this is one of the things I say. Like I learned this about myself, and I found this absolutely phenomenal. I studied so hard for my CCIE and got to that CCIE. CCIE was Everest for me. I was going to have made it when I got there. And do you know how long that feeling of accomplishment lasted? Like 2 days.
Not as long as the journey.
Not nearly as long as the journey, right? Like it was immediately what's next. I like for something like CCIE where I dedicated 1.5 years of my life and just unbelievable amounts of effort and time. And the minute it's done, we put it behind us. It's just human nature. And maybe not everyone's that way. Some people love to rest on their laurels. I don't know a lot of those people. I know a lot of people who are always about that, like what's next? How do we solve the problem? Like what's the thing that's coming up? I think that's what makes us as engineers good at what we do. But I also think that we often forget those accomplishments. That's why I love shows like this where we talk about this. And Knox, I definitely want you to talk about some of those things. But to Tony's question, why do we always forget it? It's because that's who we are. Once it's no longer something I have to be solving, it's in the rear view and I'm moving forward and that's it. And so it's great. So Knox, I'm going to give it back to you. I want to know what this year was a positive accomplishment. What were some of those things that were maybe not so easily remembered, but I think are worth looking back at?
Well, so for me, this kind of goes in with a lot of other dialogues that I have in other channels. I think for me as a trainer, the biggest accomplishment that I see regularly isn't my accomplishment at all. It's when somebody tweets me that they've passed their exam and they've made some sort of achievement. That is the biggest accomplishment for this year. Was I saw a lot more of that than I've ever seen previously. And I saw a lot more of other people's careers taking off. And this goes back to like that feeling of negativity. And I even blogged about this recently, like the coping with imposter syndrome in the IT career. It sometimes feels like the rocket ship is taking off without you on board because other people are experiencing success when you're not. And that's when you have to take a moment that not right now doesn't mean not ever. You'll get yours someday. In the meantime, celebrate those who are having success and lift them up. That to me, I think was the big theme that I had to learn throughout this challenging year. And then when I reflected on other people's achievements and all of the times that, people tagged me and, I saw their successes, that to me was all my certifications and all the stuff that I did aside, that means nothing compared to other people who achieved in a year where achievement was hard to come by.
No, it makes a lot of sense. Absolutely.
Yeah. So where are you on your journeys? So I think you're like pursuing at least CCIE, right? You've been going very hard with that, but I've also seen you over in the Juniper chat rooms. I've seen you over in the DevNet chat rooms. You're everywhere. So what are you pursuing now? What's next for you?
So I got DevNet Associate 8:30 a.m. the day it came out, and then I got DevNet Professional 2 days later. I took DevCore and an auto back to back on, I think those exams launched on Tuesday, and I took DevCore and an auto on Thursday. So I took the exams, I scheduled them both immediately back to back, and I took DevCore first, and I thought I failed. So I walked out and I told the proctor, like, don't show me my score. I don't want to go into this next exam feeling bad. So I went back in and did an auto, and then I came out and I got the scores and I passed both. So I got DevNet Professional back, but like in the training and the social media world, like that's my persona, and it's also my number one passion is automation. So I contributed to some open source projects in the last month. I did 2 pull requests to PyATS today. I did a pull request to Nornir a month ago when I did the PyEZ Nornir plugin. So CCIE was filling a gap for me when I lost my main job as the director. So that was like, okay, like it's time for me to prove to the world that I do more than just network automation. I can actually do networking. And I wanted to do CCIE Enterprise, and I wanted that feeling of achievement. And it was a new exam with new content, and that's my sweet spot. That's a DNA Center appliance right there. And underneath it are some Catalyst 3850s. That was what I wanted. So I was like, let's do SD-WAN, let's do DNA Center, let's do all the automation. I want to do the CCIE Enterprise this year. Then I found out my wife is pregnant with twins, so my timeline got sped up. And it turns out the lab centers didn't open in time, or they won't be open in time. We're now in like the danger zone time for the twins to get here, where I'm not traveling to Texas. Let's put it that way. So I still plan on getting that CCIE. It may just be towards the end of 2021 now, because the time frame shifted. But I was ready. I read all of those books over. There we go, right there. So I read all of those. I created a practice exam in EVNG and gave that away for free for anyone who wanted to go through like a workbook style practice exam. And I was ready to rock and roll. So in the meantime, since you mentioned Juniper, I needed an itch to scratch. And I was like, I want to test out some service provider stuff. So I jumped into JNCIS service provider and passed that last week. So that's what
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you. That's what I've been tinkering with.
Maybe I should do something with my life.
That is, I know. I mean, don't you feel like so unaccomplished?
Yeah,
when
we've had a lot of accomplished
like that.
guests on today. Yes.
I mean, like, let's, as a trainer, like my job, I like to say this, like as a trainer, my literal profession is to study like new tech or old tech, just study in general, and then talk about what I studied. And that's, so I like to tell people, like, if certifications are your goal, like, try and train other people, because like as soon as you start having to explain it to somebody else, like you'll find out really quickly that you have to study. So
that's the real arbiter of knowledge, is whether or not you can explain it to somebody else. There's no question about that. I am lucky in that my job is pretty similar in that, it's my job to understand new tech and be able to explain it to customers. And so, it's not training necessarily, but I do an awful lot of training that isn't called training. We call them workshops.
Yeah.
Just like here, let me explain what all this stuff does so that you can do whatever. And you're absolutely right. Having that be part of your job is nice, because I remember the days when that wasn't my job, but I still had to learn that stuff. And it was a lot harder and a lot slower, right?
Yeah. And it's like one of my favorite things is new tech, tech that hasn't been explored in depth yet. Again, DNA Center. I mean, it's only like 3 or 4 years old at this point. No. SD-WAN, like they just released a new certification for it, so now it's a hot topic. So I'm the type of guy, like there's trainers who like to talk about stuff they've been doing for 20 years. And then there's trainers who, and there's nothing wrong with that because they're the best at it. That's why they do it. And then there's trainers who are like, I kind of just want to fill this gap that doesn't, like there's no training out there on it, but I think it could be a big deal. So put me in, coach. And that's how I ended up with the DNA Center appliance on my front door. I was like, just send it to me. I'll figure it out, and then we'll teach it. And that's what we did.
So Knox, actually, it's funny you say that, because let's see, about a month before you released an Eve NG series, I was saying to myself, I probably need to update that how to deploy Eve NG in the cloud, and just do a video for every image that's out there, and just release it all as content. And then it was like, oh, Knox Hutchinson's just releasing content now like that. I'm like, son of a bitch. It almost kind of like feels like a race, like who can release the content first, you know what I mean? And
so I mean that is another thing about content creation, is like something hot will happen and then everybody's doing the same video within the same 2-week span, right? And that's cool. Like I like that, because then everybody brings something unique to the table. Everybody's got a different perspective. I don't think there's any plagiarism happening out there in the world. It just so happens that we're all excited about the same thing. Eve NG is a killer product, and we want more people introduced to it. So GCP seems to be the best way to do it when people don't have, Dell R720 sitting behind them, heating up their rooms. So, I put mine in my basement. As far away from me as possible. Yes.
Yeah. All right. So I want to know, Knox, I want to ask you one last question before we'll let you go. And that is, when it comes time for you to do your CCIE, are you going to read the results live?
Oh,
yeah. 100%. So since I announced publicly I'm going for it, and I've made this journey public, then the announcements have to be public too. And I'm okay with failing the CCIE. Not that I'm not going to go into it I'm going to go into it giving it hell. I'm going to give it my best shot.
Yep.
And I have full intentions of passing on my first try. But if I don't, that won't upset me. That will actually just motivate me to go harder for it. So I'll absolutely do live discussions about that.
There's a difference between being public and doing it live.
Oh yeah.
I watched Tony's a couple of times. I watched a couple of the failures when he opened up and it was not a pass, right? And I watched the pass, and I just recognized that takes a lot of guts. Mine was all public because I told people online that I was doing it. People knew when I was taking tests, but I had some time to like internally process what had happened before I had to put it out to the world what had happened. And live, like there's no time to internally process because you're opening the results right there. I think that takes a special level of bravery or stupidity. I'm still not convinced which yet, but it was impressive. It made me feel like I was part of the journey though, probably far more than other people. And I think that that's super engaging. So I think that from a bringing in the community and encouraging others. And then, there's something really, really valuable about failing publicly and kind of normalizing that experience for other people. Like, because so often, right, even if we don't try, it's only the best stuff that rises to the surface. It's the whole social media conundrum, right? Like we only talk about the things that are great. And even the people who talk about the things that are negative, the negative stuff doesn't get amplified. It's always the positive stuff that gets amplified. And so having that real experience of like, oh man, that's really disappointing, but it normalizes it for the next person. Go ahead.
And to hammer that in between my first attempt, which I failed, and I did the results. I read the results live, and my second attempt in the middle was a Cisco Live, and I met so many people at Cisco Live who came up to me and thanked me for sharing my journey, and that it helped them, and that watching me fail, they were giving me words of encouragement, but they were like that meant so much to me. And I didn't, realize it. I was actually, quite embarrassed by it. The fact that like I failed publicly, like my family had to learn about my failure through YouTube, so like they were texting me afterwards. Oh, I'm sorry about your failure, but I didn't realize that failure has a positive impact on other people. And that was one of the things that kind of like recharged my batteries and made me really, really study harder and like go back and hit it 3 more times till I knocked it out.
Yeah. And congrats on knocking it out. I mean, it was a huge deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I agree that, social media sometimes can be a curated news feed that sometimes might suppress the reality of what happens out there in the real world. And people don't talk about failing because, there's a stigma associated with it. I don't think there's a stigma associated with it. I think failure is a part of life. I failed route. I mean, like that was a hard exam. And if I failed CCI, then I failed CCI. It doesn't mean I'm quitting. I'm just going to go back and punch it again.
You just said something important
from all of us at Network Collective.
Go
ahead.
Okay, so let me
please, Jordan.
Say this quick. You said something important there. They're all hard exams, right? Because we don't start off knowing what's on them, and there is a process between where we start to the point where we can pass that exam. And while CCNA may be in my rear view mirror, and maybe I can sit down and take a CCNA test, that exam was hard when I started. That exam was hard. It took effort to get there, and it was an absolute success when I passed it. And then up next was CCNP. Like that was hard when I took it. Might not be hard for me now, but it absolutely, for me as an engineer along my journey, that was a really hard exam. All of them. Except for T-Shoot. I love T-Shoot. I did all right on T-Shoot. But route and switch, T-Shoot's changed though. I don't want to give anyone the wrong impression. It used to be a really easy exam. Not quite as easy anymore. Or it's not even there anymore, is it? Like it's a different blueprint now. But no, like, so like, I think often CCIEs who've been in the industry for a long time, they tend to be pretty visible if they're on social media. A lot of people say, oh, I'm not as skilled. I'm not as nonsense. We just have put in the time. If you're on that same process, you're just putting in the time. And so it's good to know, like, I didn't pass all of my CCNP tests the first time either. Right. Like it was a hard test. It is a hard test. It's probably harder now than it was when I took them. Right. And so that's I'm glad to hear you say that, because I think that also needs to be normalized. I'm going to continue where Tony left off. Knox, it was great to have you on. I don't think we've ever actually been in the same space before. So this is kind of cool to sit down and chat, and hopefully that happens more
Another
often.
Network Collective first.
There you go.
It's a miracle.
Yes.
But I'm hoping that you and family and friends all have a great holiday season, and hopefully we'll get an opportunity to do this again real soon.
Yes, I really appreciate y'all's time. It was an honor to be here.
It was ours for sure.
Thank you so much. And Merry Christmas.
Thanks.
Merry Christmas. Yep. See you later.
Merry Christmas. Bye.
All right. We got a couple more guests. Some people have been waiting for a long time. And so I don't. Yeah, I know. They've been in like almost an hour. Yeah, absolutely. I feel a little bit bad now.
I feel bad now.
Yeah. So the next up is a very, very good friend of mine. And that is Tom Hollingsworth. Tom, my friend, how are you doing?
Hello, guys.
Hey.
Good to see ya. Love the hat,
Tom.
Tony.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
You've been waiting for quite a while. I apologize. We've been chatting with a bunch of different people. So hopefully the green room conversation is just as engaging as the conversation out here.
Well, the good news is that we've solved all of the networking problems and we moved on to trying to teach people how to skateboard. So there could be a rise in emergency room visits tonight. And if that's the case, I am going to hold Network Collective liable for that.
Sounds like I need to call my lawyer is what I need to do. Where's that display?
Next guest.
Tom, my friend, how have you been?
I've been good. It's I'm very happy that the end of the year is just kind of running itself out.
Yeah, I hear you. You've had some personal accomplishments this year. You started running, and you've just kept running, kind of like Forrest Gump. You've been doing it every day, and it's awesome. Like it's been impressive and inspiring, and so I people are seeing it. I see it. I'm just acknowledging it. It's been awesome, man. It's been awesome to see you going on that journey, and you've accomplished quite a bit.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's kind of funny because when you're on the road all the time, all you've got is the hotel room treadmill, and so you're kind of like, I don't want to go down and run on the treadmill tonight. And so with being locked down and everything, I woke up one day and it was actually right after I did the Tom's Corner stream for Cisco Live before it got postponed randomly, and I said, you know what, I'm going to go for a walk today. And kind of like Forrest Gump, I just didn't stop, and so it's just been putting the miles to it, and just watching the pounds melt off, which was kind of nice because then I go back and look at photos of me like pre-pandemic this year, like January and February. I'm like, oh Lord, I'm glad that I did this.
Yeah, for sure. And you don't exactly have.
Wait a second, Tom. That was the last time I saw you was in January of this year.
Yeah. So when you
I got the worst version of Tom.
Yeah. So when we were all hanging out at Networking Field Day back in February, I went on the road the week after that to RSA, and then of course everything locked down after that. But yeah, I was doing a year-end thing for the Gestalt IT rundown, and I had to pull up all the videos, and so it's funny to see like the videos from like March and April where I'm like this. And then, as I slowly shrink down, as my wife says that I'm wasting away, I'm like, I'm not wasting away, but, I appreciate that. So, yeah, now it's like, okay, I got a haircut and everything.
So, Tom, I got to catch a stream you did with Gestalt today. I didn't see it live, but I saw the recording that came out. I guess it would have been today, Wednesday, right? It's the rundown, and you kind of looked at the year in review, and you guys covered a lot of stories, stuff that happened this year. Was it news? Was it not? Some of the bigger stuff. I'm curious, from all the things you talked about, what were the couple of things that you think are the real hallmarks in technology for this past couple of years? What are the acquisitions or big headline stories that maybe weren't acquisitions? What are the things that are going to impact us as we go forward?
So I think where we're going to see a lot of this is twofold. The first one is that the stock market is driving a lot of acquisitions right now because people are essentially playing with found money. So when you look at the way that NVIDIA has been buying people left and right, and AMD has been buying people left and right, that's all money that they didn't have at the beginning of 2020 because the stock market just basically pushed them up. So when you see companies like Juniper, what do? They bought NetRounds, they bought 128 Technology, they bought Apstra this year. I have a feeling they're not done yet. That's a big thing. Companies are basically going to try, it's like when anybody gets a bonus or a check at the end of the year, they're like, I could go spend this. And so that's kind of what they're doing, is because they know that this can't last forever. The other thing, which I think is a bigger telling piece, is this flight from Silicon Valley. Because we when we were running the stories down today, like we were picking out stories from like, March and April. And then we found out, well, wait a minute, those actually tie into stuff that happened like in October. So, you've got a remote workforce because nobody wants to go into an office anymore. And I have it on good authority from a lot of my friends that right when the pandemic hit, a lot of, tech CEOs were like, we may not build another building. We may not rent another building because nobody's going to be in it. So then we're going to have you work from home wherever you happen to be. So remember those positions you're like, why can't I do this remotely? Why do I have to move to Santa Clara to do this job? Well, you're not going to see that anymore. Flip side, though, we're not going to pay you like you live in Santa Clara. Because, yeah, too bad, so sad. But then they look around and they go, wait a minute, if everybody's remote and we're still paying property taxes here, why are we here? And so that's why you're getting Oracle and HPE and a bunch of other companies that are moving to like Colorado and Texas, which are not insanely cheap places to live, but cheaper than living in the Valley. And so I don't necessarily know that Silicon Valley is going to go away anytime soon, but I definitely think that the importance of Silicon Valley as just like this destination headquarters for everybody who's in tech is not going to be nearly as important as it used to be.
I'm just saying I'm looking forward to a viable networking field day in Austin or some other place in Silicon Valley, right? I'm looking forward to the idea that there's going to be other places to go. I've never been a huge fan of Silicon Valley to begin with. Like when I started my career, it had the big Mcnamara of, that's where everybody who's anybody is at. And then as I got there and as I spent more time there, I'm like, God, why would I ever want to be here? I'm so glad I live where I do when I visit, right? Like that's kind of my take. Mm-hmm. And so it's interesting. Yeah. I've also wondered about that with a lot of the vendors. I think early in my career, I looked at vendors as like one of the places to be. And then all the vendors required you to be on site. And I'm just like, no, I don't want to live in California. I learned that fairly quickly. And so I think this will be interesting as we see things kind of get shaken up and remote work become more acceptable, specifically in that vendor space. I think it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. So tech or not, man, how about you? What's a lesson you learned this year? What's something that you're taking away from this year into next year? Obviously, there's been a lot of both challenging and positive, and it's kind of been this mixed bag of a year. Is there something that was learned uniquely in this year that maybe wasn't learned in past years that you can share and give us some wisdom?
I think it's relearning something that I learned a while back. So, I mean, the nice thing about Field Day and Gestalt IT is that I haven't had to work in an office for years at this point. But this year was when all of my coworkers who worked in an office ended up working from home. And so they had to learn the same lessons that I did, which was, don't do your laundry in the middle of the workday. Don't work at 10 p.m. You have to take breaks here and there. But I think that what I'm relearning is that I need to remind myself to take breaks every once in a while too. Because it's real easy to get dialed into something and be like, like Kermit the Frog on a typewriter, like I'm going to do all this cool stuff. And then you look up and it's like 8 o'clock. And you're like, oh, now I know why I'm angry. I haven't eaten in 7 hours. And so you've got to learn to pace yourself, like things like Pomodoro. It's like, sprint for 25 minutes, take a break for 5. Or, just kind of chilling out for a minute. And, because a lot of the office mentality that we've had for years is this idea that you're in this office from 8 or 9 to 5 or 6, and you get to go out to do lunch. And the rest of the time, you've got to be ultra productive the whole time. And that doesn't work for most people. I mean, let's be fair. I have ADHD. And so there are days when I am hyper super focused on whatever it is that I'm doing. There are days that I squirrel off onto YouTube for 2 hours and I learn a lot, but it's not about work. And so I've got to remember that, take things as a whole. It's like, you can work on the emails in the morning, take a quick break, maybe read an article or two, come back to it, send some more emails, and just don't burn yourself out. Because the other problem is when you've got a manager sitting behind you with a wooden spoon, cracking you over the back of the head, you need to get this configuration done. You need to get this customer happy. You can sit there and go, oh, this is so burned out. But at the end of the day, you can just walk away from it and be like, you know what? I don't have to deal with this person at home, and I can just sit down and watch the game or something. But when you're the person driving your work ethic, and you crank it a little further past go time than you need to, I mean, like any other CCI lab study or something like that, if you burn yourself out, you will burn out for real, because you can't walk away from yourself at the end of the day.
Excuse. Yeah. I actually found that the office environment had a healthy level of breaks because of the distractions. I actually found that when I started working from home, which I've worked from home for a while now as well, I missed the water cooler talk. I missed the random coworker coming in and talking to me, because what I would do is I would just like be head down focused on whatever it was the entire day. And then I wasn't getting those healthy breaks. Now I know that everyone's kind of like sitting there going like, okay, well, yeah, but I have 20 coworkers who come bother me and I can't get anything done. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is the idea is that you could step away, you could go chat with somebody. You, like you said, you could leave for lunch. I don't do that nearly as often when I'm from home. And I feel like that's one of those lessons that you have to learn when you start working from home. I feel like there's a bunch of people that had to learn that this year, that like, wait a minute, you weren't 100% effective in the office. You were lucky if you were like 60% effective in the office. If you have 60% of your day where you were effectively getting work done at home, that was an all-star day. Like, it was a great day. Like, you know, and there'll be days that are 120% effective at home, and there'll be days that are like 30% effective at home. That's okay, because you got to look at it at the broad scale. Like, you got to look at it that way. It's been interesting. The same thing, watching other people learn and then me having to relearn, because what I found myself doing was falling back into my old habits to try to match what coworkers who weren't used to working from home were doing. Right. And like, and trying to match their schedules. And like, maybe I should be teaching them rather than emulating them. Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Tom, what's on the horizon?
The nice thing is that this field day works. We've got a great way to make it work in a virtual format. And since it looks like everything's probably going to be virtual for the first half of next year, we're steamrolling right along. I mean, I was just telling some of the folks in the green room, Networking Field Day 24, which is our February event, is completely full. Like the outreach has been amazing. So much amazing, in fact, that we added a Networking Field Day 25 in May. So we are actually filling that one up right now as we speak. Yeah. Well, part of the reason why is it's Zoom fatigue. Like, and Jordan, you and I talked about this a little bit. We could do a week-long event. Like, we could do 5 days, 3 to 4 hour or 3 to 4 presenters each day, and then I'll kill all of you and you will never want to talk to me again. So we're like, 3 days works, maybe 3 presenters most of the day, give you guys a chance to catch your breath, relax, take notes, whatever. But that means that if there are 15 companies that are interested in that event, I can't get all 15 of them in, which means I need to have more events. But thankfully, because I'm not getting people on airplanes and booking hotel rooms and all that other stuff, it's a little bit easier to pull off. So that's when we sat down kind of, about a month ago, we said, well, we've got enough interest. We need to make this happen. So, we're looking at, more networking events. We're going to have another security event. We're going to have a wireless event in the summer. It's just because the world slowed down doesn't mean that the business did. Nope, and with all the other stuff that we've got kind of going on the side, as far as like non-event stuff, I joked with somebody the other day because I put a haircut on my calendar. I said, okay, I'm going to go get a haircut. And they're like, why did you do that? I said, well, for 2 reasons. One, because I'll forget if I don't. But 2, I have this bad that like calls have been popping up on my calendar randomly for the last couple of weeks. And this is a block for you to not put a call on my calendar. And it's hey, we need you to record this podcast. Hey, we need you to be on this briefing. Hey, somebody wants to talk about this event. And it's just like, it's Tetris with my calendar, and Lord knows I hum that theme enough as it is.
That's funny. I do the exact same thing. Like I put benign things on my calendar that if they need to happen within times that someone may be scheduling me, it gets put on there, often private, just so like, the rest of the work world doesn't know what I'm putting on my calendar necessarily. But like, I've actually contemplated putting lunch on there because I have the pleasure of working with people who are 1 hour behind me time wise, and they want to get into their day before they schedule meetings. And so they always schedule meetings for 11 o'clock because they want a couple hours to get their stuff together. I'm like, why do I have meetings starting at noon every day this week and then going until 3? Like, when am I supposed to eat? You know, like, it's just ridiculous. And so,
we had to do that as a team. Like, we have a block on our calendars every day that says there is no calls to be scheduled at this time. Now, of course, I ignore it if it's something super important, but It's nice to know that you've literally blocked a part of your calendar so that you don't have to worry about like back to back calls. Because we've all been there. Like, okay, this call's going to last an hour, but if the first call goes 5 minutes over, the rest of the day is shot. And when am I supposed to go to the bathroom? And I need more coffee. And you've got to give yourself a chance to breathe.
So Tom, do you have any holiday plans? Just home with the family?
Right now, we're just doing home with the family. It's we're not hit as hard with the crazy as everywhere else is, but I'm not taking any chances. So we're going to hang out, play some board games. I'm going to see if I can get banned from any more trivia games at my in-laws' house. And then we'll do some stuff. I imagine that I'm going to be spending most of Christmas morning putting batteries and stuff and downloading applications and answering questions about why the home Wi-Fi doesn't work properly, and then teaching kids how to troubleshoot packet capture so they can fix it themselves.
Very, very nice. Well, Tom, I do appreciate you dropping in and saying hi. Hope everyone has a great holiday season. Looking forward to this upcoming year. Hopefully that, you know, some of this stuff that's normalized goes away. Some of the stuff that's normalized gets ingrained forever. And really looking forward to maybe a bit of return to normalcy at some point next year. But yeah, you've kind of been at the forefront, having to adjust. So well done there in turning what was an all-person event. And I know it wasn't just you, but you and the entire team over at Tech Field Day, and making it still something that's valuable and to the general community, and continuing to push it out there. If anyone's listening and doesn't know about Tech Field Day, you need to go check them out right now. Techfieldday.com. It's a great resource. And I'm sure we will talk again very, very soon. We need to have you back on the show and do this a bit longer with a bit more purpose on one of these live streams one night.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, guys. I really appreciate it.
All right, man. Have a good night.
Thanks, Tom.
You too.
All right.
Merry Christmas.
All right. All right. I think we have one more guest, Tony.
I can't believe it. It has been one amazing
nonstop
night
for 2 hours. Yeah, it's been fantastic. I'm so excited with what's going on.
Yeah.
So let me just give a heads up here. Make sure that they know that they're coming on, so they don't get the treatment that that I gave to Nick Brawley earlier, where brought him over and he was chatting. So let's see.
Midstream, with something.
Okay, so let's bring him on. So Bruno, my friend, how are you doing?
Hey, I am great. How are you guys?
All right. You were the lone holdout.
Thank you.
With Chris in the green room there.
Yes. We had a good chat going on.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Go ahead.
I want to ask you about your background or your set. Is that intentionally worn like that, or do we need to send you some money? And are you in like a bad apartment or something?
If you're going to send me money, yeah, I'm definitely in a bad apartment. No, this is my home office during COVID times. Is my wife's yoga room. So she's got this special paint on one of the walls that has some glitter in it and some shiny stones and stuff like that. So what I really should have is a backdrop like you guys have, but yeah.
So I don't know if you saw
money if you want to send it my way.
I don't know if you saw earlier, but Laz came on and he had to be just like us. So he had the green screen on behind him and it is black, and he's completely mimicking what we were doing. That was kind of funny.
I saw that.
So man, like, how was your year? We haven't had a ton of opportunity to connect this year. So you're not as boisterous online as some other people. So man, 2020 was crazy for a lot of people. How was it for you?
So I'm almost embarrassed to say this. 2020 has been fantastic.
You don't need to be embarrassed to say that at all.
Yeah, no, we had our my son was born in May, during, our COVID baby, and happy, healthy.
That's great.
The hospital staff.
Congratulations.
Was awesome. My wife's doing good from that. Thank you. Work's been going well. Everybody's healthy. Parents are healthy. I know a lot of people have, 2020 has sucked for a lot of people, but I think this has brought my immediate family closer together. 2020 has been fantastic for me.
That's a great way to look at it. Yeah, I know that for me and our immediate family, like, is how we feel. Like for my kids, like they're excited because dad hasn't gone on a work trip since beginning of March, right? Like dad hasn't jumped on an airplane to go somewhere else and be gone for a week. And like, so it's the super consistent get up and they see me every morning. They see me at lunchtime and they see me at dinner time and we hang out. I'm home every weekend. Like I'm not going to go hang out with friends. And so like for our immediate family, like it's been great. And we have the luxury of liking each other. Not every family is that way. I recognize that, right? Not everyone gets along that well, but we absolutely love spending time together. So I've kind of been the same way, and we're well suited for all this. I mean, I've had this conversation privately. I don't know if I've had it on the show, but like we homeschool our kids, and I already work from home, and my wife doesn't have to work because obviously we have the decent job to take care of everything, and so my wife teaches the kids, and so like for us, like the amount of actual change was pretty minimal. And so like Bruno, you don't have to apologize for saying that things were great, because I think for some people they are, and I think it's okay to say that and recognize that it's not that way for everybody. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like recognize that it's been a crazy year for a lot of people. And even for us that we're well prepared or that we're well suited for this type of crazy environment, even in that, there's still loss. You know what I'm saying? Things we would have normally done that we're not doing now. And, not to the same degree as some other people. But I'm definitely not living the same frustration as like those parents who have kids in school with the constant flux back and forth of whether or not the kid is going to be in school this week or not. What remote learning looks like and how do we adjust for that? Like there was no change for us. It was literally kids got up and they did their school, right? Like just like they always have. In fact, we started early this year. And so the way that it works, like we have a number of days that we have to get done. Like that's the idea is I think it's 180 days or something of school is the count. And we in the summer realizing that nothing is changing anytime soon. We kind of brought it up with the kids like, hey, do you want to start early? Because maybe by the time that we're done with school, you'll get done early. And if you get done early and there's something like maybe a vaccine or something on the, like you get an even longer summer where you can do something rather than spending that time right now. My kids somewhat willingly said, yes, let's start school in the middle of our summer to somewhat willingly, but they saw the benefit because they weren't getting to see their friends anyway. So like we're looking at being done in March. Because we don't take holiday breaks or whatever. So my kids, like, they're going to be done by the end of March. They're going to have between April and next whatever until to do nothing. We're going to have to figure out how to occupy their time. So you said work is good. What have you been working on?
Lots of stuff. So I'm self-employed. I got a few shoulder taps to when COVID hit to help out with setting up remote work from home and enhancing systems like that. But here where I live in Saskatchewan, nothing has slowed down as far as work and IT and things like that. So I'm working on a data center migration, creating a design for that, and then an implementation plan. One of my main customers is they're in the utility space, so I'm learning a whole bunch about cell technology and cell modems because I'm designing a network to use cell technology for smart meters and connect smart meters back into the system and things like that. So work life is just extremely busy, and the breadth is awesome. It's not just 8 hours a day on data center. It's learning some new technologies on top of enhancing things that I already know. So
nice. And when you're self-employed, busy is always the best kind of way to be, right?
It is. Yeah. So
self-employed is
my main
like
gig. It's
I don't have a boss. I can just do whatever I want. It's like, no, you don't understand. If I want to eat, I need to be busy this month. So
exactly.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, no,
so
it's been nice. We just continuous working where other people are, employees, they're forced to take their holiday time even though they can't go anywhere. I can just keep working through it and stuff like that. So it's been good. And the working from home has been awesome. Again, usually I'm on site at a customer site, but working from home has been great. And, the benefits are I get to see my kids and get surprised with snacks and smoothies
Nice.
and things like that being delivered along with a hug and a kiss. It's pretty good.
That is good. I've been asking a lot of people coming on, like what is the thing that you're going to pull out of this year, right? Obviously, there's been a lot of different influences this year, things that we haven't had to navigate before. So far, it's been wildly positive of things to pull out. I think everyone likes to put their positive spin on it, and I'm sure you will as well. But is there something this year that like you've either learned or relearned, or just a little nugget of kind of something that was uniquely learned this year that maybe you could share with us?
Oh man,
I know I put you on the spot.
I think for me, maybe it was staying in touch with people that you're friends with at work, but you're not necessarily working with on the same projects and stuff. So it's, making that effort to do WebEx calls and Zoom calls and just stay in touch with them more than just texting, because you're used to going for a coffee with them. You're used to going for lunch with them. So just, forcing myself to make time to just stay in touch with, those type of people that, you sometimes take for granted when you see them every day, and, it's a simple hi one day, but those are now gone. So making more of an effort to enhance those friendships, or at least just keep them rolling.
Yeah, intentionality.
I think that's been the biggest adjustment. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. I was actually having that consideration earlier today. I realized that there's a bunch of people that I haven't done that with, right? Like just me personally this year, as things have kind of gotten crazy, and people I would consider friends who I haven't kept up with because I haven't had the regular inputs that I would have normally had from them to engage with them just through regular social interaction. And so I think that's a really great piece of advice, because I was even thinking, it's like, it sounds really lame, but like I need to like put some stuff on my calendar. Like, have you reached out to this person? Have you had a conversation with your friend? Because I'm that person who gets like stuck's probably the wrong word, but I get focused on what I'm doing. And like, it's not that I don't care about those people. I do. It's just that my mind is on whatever's in front of me, and they're not in front of me. Right. And
Exactly.
so I need to start leaving myself some notes so that I don't do that. Too much, at least. That's very interesting. Do you have any holiday plans? Anything that you're doing this year?
We're just sticking around home, and with COVID lockdowns, Saskatchewan here is going through our second wave, and so the restrictions on right now are, you're not allowed to have anybody in your home. It's just whoever lives in your house. That's it for Christmas. So it's just the six of us hanging out for Christmas and having a good time. We just had a big dump of snow the last couple of days, so
nice.
We'll take the kids and go tobogganing, find a hill somewhere, and just continue hanging out as a family. So save our money we usually go on a winter trip every year, whether it's a week or two, someplace warm, and drag the kids along, and we'll just save our money and do that next year. This has been, just more of the same. It's like Groundhog Day.
For sure. You had mentioned the restrictions. Most of the U.S. is under similar restrictions, but that doesn't stop us, because it's been a really interesting social exercise to watch how all of this has progressed. I think some of it's incredibly predictable in that people are, I want to say this as nicely as I possibly can, they're self-interested.
Yes.
Right. They're self-interested. Like their interest goes as far as how it impacts them. Broadly, people don't look at the scale of how it affects everybody. And then on top of that, we have that fun little independent streak that comes with being America. that like you won't tell me what to do, and so people have a natural rebellious like pushback against anything that the government says at any point in any time. I mean, you could be telling them the sky is blue, and a portion of our population will push back and say, no, the sky is not blue, just because somebody is telling you that the sky is blue, right? So I feel like America, sometimes that attitude is incredibly helpful. And sometimes that attitude is incredibly unhelpful. And I think this is one of those seasons where it's like, maybe compliance right now would work a little bit better. Just take a look at our numbers, you know, but we're never going to get that under control
here too.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
I think the difference is I think it's probably more globally known. That's a global trait of
us rebellious Americans.
America. But there's quite a few Canadians that have the same attitude. I think it's just less
humans
advertised.
Are humans. Yeah, humans are humans.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. I'm glad to hear that things are good for you this year. That's fantastic. You said you had your kid born, boy or girl? I forget.
Boy. Yeah.
Boy.
A boy born in May. Yeah. So he's. Today he just had his, he's supposed to get 6-month immunizations for, diphtheria and various things like that. He just had those today. So he's a little bit grumpy today after having a couple shots. But he's doing well. He's growing like a weed already and, rolling over and soon to be crawling and stuff like that. So, that's good.
Awesome.
And his 2 older sisters just love him to death. And
that's cool.
It's we got a pretty busy house. Actually, before I joined this call, we were just putting the kids to bed. So I don't know if I did a good enough job of wiping the baby food off my shirt. If you look close, you might be able to see some spit up or some baby food.
We've got the banner perfectly over your shirt. No one can see anything. It's just grace out on the side.
In a perfect spot.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Bruno, I really do appreciate you taking the time to come on and say hi, and just want to wish you and your family a great holiday season. And a great year next year. It's been great having you be around and getting to know you over these past few years, and just having the opportunity to continue and be part of a community with you. And so just thanks for coming on and saying hi. And I was just really grateful for all the people like you that are out there that are participating, right? And communicating and building this great community that we're all part of. And so you actually get the illustrious title of last guest today. You came on and you are the final one for today. So we're wrapping it up. And so I want to wish you a very, what's that?
I said, I heard I was batting cleanup here.
Batting cleanup. Right. So I just want to wish you and your family a great holiday season, and hopefully we'll talk again real soon.
Yeah, I really appreciate the invite and having me on. This is really awesome. You've created a great community, and I'm happy to be a part of it and support it and stuff like that. I also wanted to say hi to Tony too. I haven't officially met him, so this is a good time to say hi to Tony as well. Santa Tony, and Merry Christmas to you guys too.
Hello, Bruno. I'm from the North Pole.
Oh boy,
we're not far from each
around
other.
The corner from me. Yeah.
All right, Bruno, we're gonna let you go, man.
All right.
Oh,
nice to meet you, Bruno.
Santa wants to say hi, so we'll let Santa do his thing.
As long as I don't have to.
Yes, nice to meet you, Bruno.
Santa, those are some nice headphones you have there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh, thank you. The elves do a good job with this.
And where's Tony?
He had to go.
Okay. Bruno, my friend, we'll talk again soon. All right.
Right on. Thank you.
All right, later, man.
A great Christmas and a fantastic New Year.
You too, man. Bye.
Bye.
So Santa, what's up, man?
Yes, Jordan.
So what are you up to? I heard you're taking a trip to Yvonne's house tonight.
That's right. I wanted to just stop by the Network Collective live stream on my way to Yvonne's house, because she likes to have her celebration a little different than the rest of us, and that's okay. So I don't mind making the special trip all the way down from the North Pole to visit one family's house than to rush back and get ready for Christmas for the rest of the world.
So is Yvonne special, or if I set my own schedule, do I get my own special trip down too?
Well, you see, she's on the good list. You, Jordan?
Well, yeah, I knew I should have paid attention to that. So Santa, so what do you So yeah, I'm getting told I need to fix your title there, Santa. Right now it's showing Tony because apparently you stole Tony's video feed.
Oh, well, my elves are very evil hackers, and they can give me anyone's video feed in the world.
Is that what it is? So Santa, do you have a Twitter handle?
That's what it is. That's right, I do. At Official Santa.
At Official Santa?
But mostly that's just my PR team. I'm much too busy to answer tweets myself.
Oh, fair enough. So is there something you wanted to do here on the Network Collective live stream? Did you have a message or something that you wanted to say?
Oh, yes. I just wanted to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas. 2020 has been hard for us, too, up at the North Pole. COVID wiped out at least one or two of my elves, and we're all very sad about it. But we started wearing masks in the workshop, and we are compliant. So when I visit everybody, everyone's toys will be clean and sanitized, ready to go to spread Christmas joy to all the girls and boys. Very speaking nice. About Christmas joy, I believe you guys on this show, you have something called the Naked Hardware trivia. Is that right?
No, that's something I never imagined coming out of Santa's mouth. But yes, Naked Hardware. We do have something called Naked Hardware.
Very good. Very good. Yeah. All right. So what I would like to do is I would like to go ahead and use Tony's computer, which my elves have hacked into. And we're going to go over last week's Naked Hardware Challenge, Naked Hardware Trivia, and see if we can announce a winner.
Is Tony running SolarWinds?
You'll have to ask Russia.
I'll have to ask Russia. All right. So usually Tony does this with me. Tony, so you're going to do the Naked Hardware announcement for this week. How do you even know?
That's right.
I am amazed, but I'm just going to let this go. I'm going to see what happens here. Are you ready? And Santa's drinking a beer. Fantastic.
Yes. We're ready.
No wonder he's so merry.
Last week's challenge, we asked the question if you know what kind of hardware this is, based on the appliance without its chassis. This is a picture Tony left behind. He gave me a little script to follow so I can read. And let's see, we had a couple of folks send answers into the @Network Collective PC on Twitter. And we had two folks send something in, but the winner was Jason Lesznik.
Now,
he said the Naked Hardware seems to be the Juniper EX4300, and the rules are you have to get as close as you possibly can with a make and model. And so while this particular model has a little bit longer name, it's a 48P, we'll take EX4300 because the other contestant was not accurate at all.
Not accurate at all. Wow, someone got called out. Who was the other contestant?
Let's see if we can find it. Oh Lord, I don't think I can find it.
Oh,
but
you don't have it. That's all right.
What I wanted to bring up was that Jason also gave us his solution. You remember in grade school when your math teacher would tell you to show your work. Please show your work. Don't just write the answer. Right? So here he just wrote the answer, but like a grade school, we want you to show your work. So here's how he deduced what the answer was. And I'll go ahead and blow that picture up. If you want to see it yourselves, you can download it.
at Net Collective PC. Oh, it's on our Twitter feed.
Yeah,
he actually took a screen grab of the live
that's
stream.
the exact same. It's not another picture. It is the picture you use.
It is not another hardware picture. It is the picture. He took a screen grab from the live stream, I presume, and then went ahead and found the cooling system and airflow for the chassis. That's this up here in the upper left, which shows in through the front, out through the rear, as well as the expansion card. Right. And he puts the arrows so he can identify everything. And then the rear of the chassis, he's identifying the 4 QSFPs ports that are there, the fans, the power supply, and of course the blank that would go on it. So here are no power supplies, but that's where they would go. So not only did Jason exceed all expectations, he was correct, and he exceeded all expectations of this week's Naked Hardware Trivia. So very good, Jason. You are our winner. So this is also going to be the Naked Trivia Challenge for 2020 for the year. We're going to start again on our first stream, which I believe is January 3rd or January 6th, whatever that Wednesday is, the first week of January. We will start Naked Hardware Trivia again. So just to give some statistical results throughout the year, our reigning champion, that is the one who has the most wins this year, is Mr. Chris Cummings, everybody. Holy hell. He got 3 wins in a row. And second place is, of course, Jason Leshnick. He has 2 wins in a row. So very good for him. And I think we're still trying to get some care packages out to some folks. And we have to try and figure out the logistics to send Jason his package now that he's a 2-time winner. So very cool. Hey, Jordan, this is a very cool stream you guys have here. You and Tony should be proud.
Well, thank you, Santa Claus. Thank you, Santa Claus.
Yes.
Oh man. So I don't even know what to say. I'm so grateful for you coming on to the stream, even though you hacked into it and technically broke into our stream. I'm not quite sure how you got all the information from Tony on Naked Hardware, but that was very cool of you to do the announcement. I think it was Jason, correct? That's the winner, Jason?
Oh, that's correct. Jason Leshnick is our winner.
I'm sure Jason will be very excited to hear that Santa Claus announced that he was the winner this year. You have anything fun going on? Anything fun going on in the next couple days?
Yeah, well, after I go around the world handing out presents to all the girls and boys, me and Mrs. Claus like to vacation down in Cancun where the weather's nice.
Cancun.
So we'll be doing that. Yeah. It's so cold at the North Pole all year. We like to get our red coats off and take off our gloves. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can understand. Cancun sounds good. Travel.
My ties by the beach.
Yeah, no travel restrictions from the North Pole.
There's no travel restrictions in a sleigh, Jordan. Come on, buddy. I got reindeer.
You take the sleigh to Cancun.
That's right. I got reindeer. I don't need commercial airlines.
Oh my. I'm learning things about Santa I never dreamed I would have known. That's very interesting. Why Cancun? I mean, is it always Cancun or do you go to other places?
We go to other places sometimes, but the wife has a nice spot. She likes to visit down there. So that's what we'll do.
Very
Mrs.
nice.
Claus, she's good.
Well, I think
Jordan, that about wraps it up for me. I have to get back over. Actually, I have to head to Yvonne's house before I head back to the North Pole.
If you do happen to see Yvonne, tell her I say hi. But I imagine that you'll be trying to sneak into the house.
Yvonne is so sweet, isn't she?
Yeah, absolutely. She's fantastic. All right. Thank you so much, Santa, for dropping in. Maybe we'll see you next year. So on that note, I think at the risk of completely jumping the shark, we're going to wrap it up here. It's been a fantastic year. Thanks so much for all that you do as listeners, as supporters of the show, of all the different things that you participate in. Whoa, Tony, you're back.
Hey, Hey, thanks, Jordan. Hey, I had to go to the bathroom. What'd I miss?
Santa came in, like literally was on your stream.
In here?
There you go. I mean, like he said he hacked into your computer. I don't know how he knew that you were in the bathroom. That's kind of creepy.
Oh, he probably had 15% of my password. That's what it was.
Maybe that's what it was.
I bet he's got an IQ of 196.
I was thanking everybody who's watching for being a Network Collective listener and for just hanging out with us here on
Jordan,
this live stream.
I can't see you.
You can't see me? Oh,
where are you?
I was so flustered by what was going on. I forgot to flip myself back up on the screen. Maybe that was subconscious, and I don't want to be associated with all of this nonsense. Anyway, I was just thanking everybody for watching. Super grateful for everyone who consumes Network Collective, who participates, who joins in the conversation, especially those who support the show and those who are in the Slack. I said it earlier in the show, but the people are the reason, right? Like we can talk about technology all day. It's somewhat interesting to me. I care about the people. And so I'm super grateful, for each and every one of you. And so we're looking forward to, next year. We're looking forward to, building up Network Collective to be even bigger and better. We have lots of great plans, and I think that's it for this year. So we're going to take, a week. We're going to give ourselves a week, a week off, and then we're going to get right back to it.
And actually, I do. Since it's going to be our last show for the year, I do want to give some thanks. It has been an amazing year. I kind of at the beginning of this stream, I kind of gave my story with its bookends, is sort of how it started and how it finished, and it's really this live stream that has sort of breathed new life into me and a new passion, and it's just made things fun again. This has just made things fun again. And it's so exciting to be able to do this. I look forward to it every Wednesday. And, this 2020 has brought some darkness in, and all of us deal with that differently. And for me, it was a little bit darker than the way it hits other people. So having this has proved to be a bright light in that darkness. And it's so great. So thank you for, wanting to try something new and wanting to do this with me. And I hope we continue to have fun. We are already planning next year's streams, and we are going to take off next week, but we're going to take off next week from streaming, but we're not going to take off next week from working. We are going to be working very hard next Wednesday to make sure we're prepared for this stream to run smoothly for the beginning of the year and hopefully throughout the entire next year. So it's going to be very cool. And if all of you enjoy this, please hit the subscribe button. Please hit the notification bell so you know when we go live. Go over to Twitch, subscribe there too, if you prefer that platform. It really helps us a lot. It really encourages us to want to do this, to do more, to do better. And if we've brought any joy into your lives, know that this is bringing joy into mine at least. So I just want to thank everybody. And this was the best way I could come up with doing it, was just bringing as many people in from our community that we see and we interact with and that we want to talk to, and just reflect on the year and have everyone say thanks. So thank you to everyone and all of you.
All right. Good deal. And with that, I'm just going to say ditto all the way across the board. This was a lot of fun. Looking forward to what's coming, and we're going to continue trying to be of value to those people in the community, and it's not just to be a value, but to participate in the conversation and to join in that community. It's not us building a community, it's us fostering a community so we have a community to be part of as well. And so it's super important to us. And so thanks, and we will see you next year.